How you feel? Oh, don't even have them on.
I don't even have them on.
You don't even have them on.
My Lulu
baby, take me to the moon.
Guys, welcome back to Jacob V Weekly. We are here celebrating episode 100. 125,600 episodes. I don't remember. It's 525,000.
525,600
minutes. How do you measure a year? Do you remember when that was the shit?
Oh my God.
Because I remember thinking the storyline was so stupid, but that something about it resonated with me because it was a multi-ethnic cast of vaguely queer people.
It's the first musical that I wasn't like, oh, do I have to watch it? It was definitely a freaking.
But I was
catalyst.
kind of, when it was brand new, I was sort of in.
It was sexy.
I was in a cis-het era that, just because of where and how I was living, that I couldn't really appreciate it fully at the time.
Yes.
But the song,
I appreciated the gay content in it.
Well, that's the thing. At that time, people don't know this. Kids, what year did Rent come out?
I'm going to say, I feel like it was like 2005, 6, 7 maybe.
That's what I was going to say too. It was Bush era. George W. Bush was in the White House. And kids, it was a different time. If you don't remember Bush being in the White House
2005
and you're gay, you live in a reality that the elders of your people could only have imagined. We were scared for I thought they were going to put us in camps. Kind of, for a minute.
Summer fat camps.
Well, but then Wet Hot American Summer came out and they realized you can't put them in camps. That's what they want.
Exactly.
They want to be camped up.
Yeah.
That's really what the gender binary threatens, is it threatens their ability. Dissolving the gender binary threatens their ability to control us. Because an all-girls school seems perfectly safe. Until the girls turn on each other sexually.
And they do.
And if they had let me get all the way up to somewhere like SLU High or wherever I would have gone, I'd have been in some trouble.
Yeah. I don't know how deep how deep the gay goes in all boys schools, but
girls school.
I feel like it's a good deep vein running through that.
It's the river that runs through it. I have to turn this off so I quit looking at myself.
Okay.
I use these devices to set up the angles. Don't worry about a thing. We have a jam-packed series of content we're cramming into this episode, and it's so exciting. And we've come such a long way. And I think the show has really grown in not just its frequency, but its scope and caliber since we started doing it here at the lovely Doorstop Studio. Doorstop-studio.square.site. It's in the thing.
Yeah, it's in the thing.
It's in the game.
It's in the thing.
And that's a huge part of it. I am going to shoot a segment with Clay back at my home studio just to kind of as a retrospective.
Yeah.
See, we started down here and now we're over here. I would say up here, but it's
a little more over.
It's over.
Yeah.
We're at the same elevation as my home over yonder.
Yeah.
But we are higher than the crest.
Higher than a basement.
Yeah.
But not like, definitely more over than up.
But it's also a walkout basement. So it's not even all the way underground.
Yeah.
It's really only half underground.
Yeah.
My basement's not even that safe.
Just in general?
As a shelter.
Yeah.
And
could you imagine a tornado coming through that place?
Well, because I'd only have half a basement to hide in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You just get under that massive pool table.
It's gone.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, I got rid of it.
Oh, nice.
Just last week.
Nice.
Making room. And now my desk is in that corner with my new mothership. So actually, you'll see this when I shoot
cool.
that segment, is that that's where I'll be. And I got my streaming software all back up and running. Mercury has been in retrograde, and we're going to hear from Emma about this. And so it's been challenging because, you hit a lot of snafus. I even had to get on live chat tech support for Streamlabs OBS because I'm an Ultra member. Because I'm a multi-stream pioneer. And they call me the Stream Daddy.
Stream Daddy.
I swear to God, nobody is doing...
Who's calling you Stream
Nobody's
Daddy?
doing what I'm doing.
Streaming?
Nobody is doing it to the level that I'm doing it for other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you mean like through like the church?
I have the congregation I serve every Sunday.
I understand now.
Right? And then I'm doing this show. This summer, we've been doing it every week. I've had episodes every week. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. No.
And then I had to start doing a podcast for the school I work at. They want to start doing weekly content because we have all this stuff. Because I'm in the 21st Century Literacy Center. It's not just a library.
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun. But we're shooting in 4K 25 here today.
Oh.
Which you've noticed.
Only the best for 100.
You've noticed an improvement.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like I've grown with you. And
the lights. Remember, we used to do this without these lights.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Can you imagine a time without the lights?
There are some episodes I look back on, like that we did in my basement, where it's so dark.
Yeah.
Because it was like the lights are too bright.
Yeah.
And I'm live streaming it, so I don't really care how it looks, so I'm not editing it. But when you start editing it, you really start to get aggravated if stuff doesn't look good.
Yes.
Because you're looking at it for
once
so
you have the
long.
detail, it's like you can't go back.
Ooh, girl. So we're dealing with all of that. We have Emma coming in. We have Al Ludwig returning to the show. It's been a long, long time. Not for any reason other than he's very busy. And I got the side door propped, so you can just walk on in when you get here. I'll be recording already. To Emma. That's how you see. We're producing this show in real time. I could technically clip that.
Yeah, I mean, do that.
And that's what you learn, guys,
That's
when
what
you're
you
making
want.
stuff too, is that like I was having this thought today. It's like I almost want to go back to the raw files of a couple things I did a few months ago and just do them all over again with everything I've learned.
I mean, yeah.
And that's why if you join us at patreon.com/JacobV, you notice everything refers to itself as which draft it is. Because the Patreon is an ongoing behind the scenes look on all the things I do creatively, and you get to see a lot of exclusive stuff there. But it's typically before any kind of final formatting. Like the live shows you see there, that's pre like any kind of color we would do or anything. But it's a great way to keep up with all the stuff that's going on constantly, never-endingly, all the time. I did an exclusive episode of the podcast with Emma from my mother's pool, a whole hour in the pool this
that's
week.
exciting.
The day before we had to go back to school.
Yeah.
And that's exclusive to the Patreon because it's in my mom's pool.
Are you shirt on or off?
My shirt's off.
Oh, sick.
So if you're into that
People
kind of thing.
get into it.
If you're into that kind of thing, I was just consulting my handyman the other day that he should be shooting the work he does and then just doing voiceovers later. A day in the life of a Midwestern handyman.
Yeah.
Because he's like a young, like shredded dude.
Yeah.
And then the next day I see him, he's putting his work out on his Snapchat story.
Oh, really?
Because he was listening to me. Because I'm like, here's what you do, bro. You do a couple of handyman jobs a week. You cut up the content. You forward those people to your OnlyFans. And the percentage of middle-aged Midwestern men that would love to watch you build or work out or do things on TikTok will cross over to your OnlyFans. And then you don't have to be remodeling bathrooms 7 days a week. You do a couple bathrooms a week, grind the content, take that shirt off on OnlyFans for the benefactors.
The benefactresses.
The benefactresses.
Benefactresses.
Alfred's really revved up to talk about political stuff.
Okay,
so we don't
great.
necessarily have to spend any time on that.
All right, good, because I don't
Thank
necessarily
God.
want to, unless we're going to talk about Kamala's your new mamala.
Well, can we? You know what?
Video that I just recently
need
saw.
you to run out and get some Band-Aids
Okay.
because we have to wear Band-Aids in solidarity
With Nelly.
with Nelly.
Nelly.
We just talked about Nelly a couple weeks ago about how Nelly was wearing a bandage on his face
Yeah.
in honor of his friend City Spud, who was locked up. We talked about this on the road with no antics in episode 98 or 97, maybe.
Yeah.
And this is episode 100.
100.
Boom. Great. Now I got to find out what I'm going to put there.
Yeah. And then here, boom.
Wow. Stop. I'm going to be up all night. God, I'm trying to find that stuff. And now, this weekend, Nellie gets arrested in Maryland Heights, which is on your way to the casino, on your way out to like O'Fallon and shit where his mom lives, with ecstasy in the car and no insurance.
Yeah. Wait, no, he was riding in the car.
He was riding in the car.
Not driving.
Why did he get arrested if he wasn't driving?
It was the ecstasy, I think, which...
That's how you know the mighty have fallen.
Whatever.
When Nelly can't get his driver to take the hit for some ecstasy.
What I've seen very little. It sounds like St. Louis is very compassionate around Nelly. Like, you know.
Well, that's our dude.
Exactly. Yeah.
I thought this is that, you know, when I saw people reacting in favor of him, because thank God it wasn't domestic violence.
Literally.
Or the R word or something. You know what I mean? So that it's really the most harmless crime he could have committed. And it was nice to see him.
And like ecstasy's like cute.
It's cute. I didn't even know they still made it.
Yeah. Yeah, they still got it. Yeah.
Because isn't it Molly now?
You know, I'm not even going to act like I know, but I do think that it's two different types of chemistries happening.
See, Bad
there.
Boys 2 made me afraid of ecstasy.
I'm pretty sure that, is it Molly and MDMA or that's the street name for MDMA is Molly?
Yeah.
But I don't think that crossovers to ecstasy.
But I don't know that, because don't you snort Molly?
I honestly don't know.
I don't know.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
I've heard it's snorted. This is like Anchorman 2. We should smoke crack on the air.
Yeah. I think
wow, it hits you immediately.
I feel great.
I feel
really
my God.
Good.
That was I was just listening to Johnny McGovern, who is my all-time content icon, and he was saying he was watching episode 1 of a reboot of The Surreal Life, which used to be a reality show on VH1 where famous people would live in a house together. And but it was always kind of washed up celebrities, but it was really good. Like and the reboot has Chet Hanks.
Chet Hanks.
Tom Hanks's kid who will sometimes talk with a Jamaican accent.
No.
Yes.
Does Tom only have one?
No, he's got 2. You're thinking of Colin Hanks.
That's okay. That's
the older, better one.
Yes.
And
better one.
Yeah.
But
and it's also got Jose Canseco's daughter, whose name I forget. I think she bangs Chet Hanks.
Oh my God.
And then it's got one of the girls from Fifth Harmony, the small one.
How recent is the reboot?
It just started.
Oh my God.
But here's the thing. Episode 1 is free on YouTube because I think they want you to go get it, the rest of it on Paramount Plus or whatever it is, which I'm not doing. But Macy Gray
is on it too?
Yes.
No.
And so she's talking about how she used to like do cocaine with Courtney Love, and so they would stay out of trouble. What they would do is they would just hang out at one of their houses and do a lot of cocaine and talk about like conspiracies and shit.
Wow.
And they wouldn't go out and get arrested or get busted anywhere or get pulled over because they're just they'd like have a sleepover, but their sleepover, she slips up in the confessional, I think, and explains, but yeah, we would get all coked up and we talk about 9/11 and shit. And I love Macy Gray.
Love him.
And I loved the original version of that show. And I love when you find out rich people are crazy.
That's where Flavor Flav, isn't that where he was on with
Flavor Flav met Brigitte Nielsen on The Surreal Life.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Flavor Flav came back around too. And
he's at the Olympics.
Invested in women's Olympic sports.
We talked about that on the No Antics episode on the road, I think, that we thought it was the curling team, but it wasn't. It was the water polo team. It was the girls' water polo team.
Yeah. And then some other millionaire sponsored the rugby team. I think it was like $4 million or something.
Well, and then John Travolta was at the Olympics watching the gymnastics.
Well, and also was Tom Cruise, so it must have been some Scientology stuff going on there.
Oh, all the Scientologists were there.
Yeah.
They're trying to pick the country that's going to survive the collapse to move the church to, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I forgot Tom Cruise was there. They both loved why did the Scientologists love gymnastics?
I don't know. It was gymnastics, yeah. And
John Travolta was watching gymnastics.
Yeah.
I think Tom Cruise was watching gymnastics.
yeah.
But the camera on Tom Cruise when he's watching it, he's like, I don't know if it's performative for him.
Yeah.
But he's experiencing so much emotion that like it's compelling just to watch him watch it.
Yeah.
But it's like, why, bro? You're not on the team. You're not helping.
Yeah.
Like you're not like. I guess he's an American.
He's an American. Yeah, there was obviously like a lot of celebrities there and stuff, but I feel like once Tom Cruise and John Travolta are there, it's got to be wrapping around to Scientology for some reason.
Oh, I'm sure they took the same plane. John probably flew Tom there. Mm-hmm. Oh, that would be OG if we find out that the hierarchy of Scientology is that John Travolta's a pilot and a Scientologist, and so he is the official pilot of the leader of Scientology, who now is Tom Cruise.
What? The new leader?
Yeah, he's their guy.
No. What about David? Their actual leader. The little guy.
I don't know who you're talking about.
The Scientology?
The little guy is Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is tiny.
Shit, well...
I'm not saying he was elected to a position, Lucius.
David Miscavige.
No, that's the CFO.
Religious leader of Scientology.
Yeah, that's Tom Cruise's official spiritual advisor is who that is.
Yes.
Tom Cruise is the head of the comet propelling Scientology forward, and John Travolta is his his official pilot. Because John Travolta's a pilot.
Is a pilot.
Like Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah.
Caitlyn Jenner's in her plane right now flying around Malibu. I saw it on Twitter before I got here.
Malibu,
baby. Buckle up, buckaroo. This is a Cessna. Get in this. Kendall, get in the Cessna. Where's Kylie? Kylie, Cessna. It's just a funny word for Caitlyn Jenner to say.
Yeah.
Do you know why they call this one a Skippy?
I don't
have an answer. That's just the kind of question she would ask. Speaking of America's favorite fathers, Tim Waltz.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like it's going to be doom and gloom when Alfred gets here, so we should talk about how at least the media wants us to believe that we already love Tim Waltz.
Yes. Yeah. What I've heard so far is he is just a humble teacher, like former teacher, now governor, who just wants to spread love.
And here's my thing. Can I say this?
Yeah.
I have never worked with a teacher that I would vote for.
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean,
they're too damaged.
Yeah.
If they were really actually effective in their role and really in the trenches doing the real work, they're too damaged to take office. Unless they get removed and they heal in some way.
Yes.
But he was also in the National Guard for 24 years. Everybody in his family were teachers. It's probably a really homogenous community he was in. I don't know that he worked in the kind of place I work. So it's probably fine.
Probably. But
I've never met a teacher who's really, really involved and really committed who then ran for office.
Yeah. You know, I don't trust any of them, really. Not in like a sovereign citizen kind of a way, but more of like a...
Did you see the one where he's complaining about his headlight? Something about
No, not at all.
He's got the Daily Show has been pulling anything from his social media from all time for the past week.
Tim Waltz.
Tim Waltz, the vice presidential candidate now, has a video where he's like got a piece of like his light bulb out of his car and he's complaining to the manufacturer about it, but just into his phone camera. He's like, "You see this? This is unacceptable. It's too flimsy." And I'm like, I think the Daily Show made a joke like he'll be on the White House lawn like repairing a Predator drone. He'll be like fixing it himself. He'll be like, don't send it back. They'll charge you $20,000. All it needs is a blah, 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 blah. But I think drones are just going to run the world if that party wins the election, because that's kind of the way we were. And listen, I was saying this the other night. I'm for that. Please don't send a young, illiterate gentleman to the middle of nowhere to kill people that don't know he's coming. Don't do that. If you got to kill the people, send the drones. Send the drones. Tim Waltz will send them. And you're just on time. We're talking about drones.
What's up? Hop in.
We're tagging you in, Coach. You haven't really missed much. We were just about to run out of steam.
Well, thank God I'm here. Yeah, brought the entertainment. How are you? Oh, no.
Oh, fuck!
Oh, you'll be a new phone.
Yes! Oh, is that your original iPhone?
Yeah.
Do you still have that?
Actually, yeah, I think I do.
It belongs in a museum. Emma was the longest running user of the Gen 1 iPhone.
I do still have my, hold on, sorry, let me get set up here.
Please.
I do still have my original iPod video that was in color.
I have my 7th generation iPod Classic in a box.
Sorry, I'm checking myself in that.
No, you're cool. I'm just making sure your cinematography is legit. What does your shirt say? Herring?
It's the artist.
The design that shirt?
It's like his, I don't know, he has a bunch of apparel and stuff, accessories. All right, so what did I miss? Hi, hello.
Yeah, so we're just getting warmed up. So this is all for episode 100 of Jacob V Weekly. And, this is your 5th appearance on the show at least? If not 6. I think it's 6.
Yeah.
And we did the trilogy, and then you've been on twice at least since
I was
then.
once before the trilogy, then the trilogy, and then the most recent time.
And that's my thing is that, so we want to spend some time. We, of course, want to stay up to date on issues of the world and astrology. And astrology. You know those Italians. And however, I kind of want to look back because I can say this. You're one of my best friends, and we've gotten a lot closer in the last decade because you and my wife are also close friends.
I was friends with her before I was friends with you.
Right. But really, we haven't gone more than a few weeks without talking forever.
For almost 20 years.
Ever.
Next year's 20 years.
So I could say all of that.
Yeah.
And
what did you say?
That I don't think I've said anything yet.
I was building up for an insult.
No, no, it's the opposite. Just that I wanted to include you because of not just your perspective for all the things I kind of pull from you, but also kind of to set some goals. Like what did the people need?
Jesus.
I was just saying this. Christ is coming back in such a scary way.
Jesus, no.
Tony Bain, is that his name?
I don't think he's been coming back though, because like I was just thinking about this, just in general with the evangelical nonsense going on, and the far right everything across the world, and just the hate.
Please.
There's a documentary on Netflix, I believe it's called The Church, and I watched it years ago, but it basically talks about how the evangelical church has infiltrated all of our higher government systems, and there's a lot of white supremacy crossed over into that. I had compassion and humanity, honestly. I mean, it's really easy to act from your ego, right? Like being mad. Well, I'll use a general example. I'll get as general as I can with this. I work for a color company, and that color company, they are now owned by a major corporation.
Right.
Which...
I was going to say we talked about this on
we did, but we had to edit it out.
I had to cut out
we had to cut
so
out
much of the base
real
rail.
Specific because I
had to cut about
mad.
20 minutes out of the super exclusive pool pod because that's how exclusive it was.
Yeah. But everybody, we have a new launch coming, and everyone has their opinions, and a lot of people, were acting on their ego and oh, corporate's bad and blah blah blah, and you kind of have to get to that like level higher self. Like I feel like your ego is your knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
Like and I don't even want to say negative emotions, but it's like getting angry about something or enraged or, inflammatory things. And it's like, okay, like feel that, process it, but then take a step back and look at it from a different perspective. But I don't know that people have different perspectives. I know we said at the pool pod, the pool pod with our onion puffs. Education is so fucking important. It's so important, and there needs to be so much more funding for education and encouragement for education, because some people's critical thinking skills are really lacking, and it's honestly terrifying. In fact, I had to teach my mom how to spot an AI photo the other day.
Oh, she
sent me pictures of hair, asking which haircut would look best, and my
said,
immediate
that
thought
one's
was,
AI.
those are all AI.
So that's a demon.
But number 1 and 3 are the same haircut.
So, Mom, if you want to come on in and look like a demon, mother.
I don't know. I mean, we talked about this last time on the full pod that
we're going through a very transitional time right now, and we are breaking foundations that are not only our country but society has been built on for however many hundreds of years, if not thousands, pre-colonization, with white people specifically. But it's going to take time to deconstruct those things. So patience goes a long way. Critical thinking also goes a long way.
Yeah, and I don't think people understand that the people that you feel like are recurringly bringing up these issues of past harm that you think they should be over, you're not really listening. If you think
you're hearing them, you're not listening.
Right, you're not really listening.
Yeah.
If you think they should be over any of those things.
No, absolutely
Because it's fundamental and they don't have the option to grow up without that context. I have the option to live my life in defiance of anything that came before me because of my privilege.
Yes.
But if I was a different color or if I had a uterus, I wouldn't get to escape the ways in which other people try to control me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Lord knows we live in Missouri, and I have no reproductive rights, so that's a bummer.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a bummer.
Meanwhile,
it's a felony for me to take somebody to go get an abortion if I cross state lines.
Yeah, you better not.
I'm willing to do.
It'd be funny if it was like okay for me to do. If it was like,
would it be funny?
Like okay for men to do it?
So hilarious if men could do that, guys. Wait, you already can, you fucking prick.
Well, because it's
shut up.
Well,
I'm so mad. Shut up. Shut up.
It's so absurd that there would be a law like that in the first place. It might as well be just a little more absurd if the law was just women will go to prison for helping women get Plan C. Like, that's how ridiculous the law is already. To make it a felony for anyone to help someone get Plan C, which I think is the law we talked about.
Plan B is what you're talking about. Plan B is...
I was talking about the abortion pill.
Morning after.
No,
that's still part of the pill that they would give you if you were to have an abortion with a pill. Now, that doesn't work, though, after a certain amount of time. You have to get it...
Yeah, I'm talking about Plan C.
But I don't think it's actually called that.
It is. I saw it on a QR code from the Missouri Abortion Fund.
Yeah, I have those in my salon.
Oh!
You saw that from me.
Oh! So you know what I'm talking about. But here's the thing.
Yeah, Jake didn't know about the trigger law.
No, we talked about it on the... Yeah, I had to find out. And I'm just so
He's
glad.
Like, did you know? I was like, yes.
And here's the point I made on the pool pod is that I am now outraged. So now something has to happen.
Wait, I'm gonna be vulnerable here, and I don't know about the trigger law. So the people out there who also don't know.
So when
you should totally have a white man explain it.
Emma, please.
I just want to take a minute. I want to acknowledge the original caretakers of this land that we're on right now, the elders of the native and indigenous peoples whose land we stole and are currently occupying. I just want to give thanks to them and their caretaking of this realm. Emma, if you could please.
Please.
So the trigger law essentially was written into action so that once the abortion ban was, Roe versus Wade was overturned, that the laws that they had ready were immediately in action. So like the second that it was announced,
you could pass a law
I could no longer get an abortion. And that day, on the pod we were talking about this, but that day I was at my mom's house doing stuff, and she was like, "You seem like you're in a bad mood. Are you okay?" She thought I was like fighting with my boyfriend at the time, which never really happened. And I was like, "Yeah, I just don't have any fucking reproductive rights in this state anymore. I'm a little bitter."
Hellhole.
And my mother said, "Oh yeah, I don't have a period anymore, so I didn't even think about that."
Oh my God.
Talk
about a trigger moment.
I held my composure and I said, well, I hope that you rethink our family doesn't know any felons, which is a lie. But theory, because that's my mom's like, we don't know people who've been to jail.
We don't know anyone who's been to jail,
well,
which is such a weird thing to say.
You've hosted them at Thanksgiving a couple times, Mom.
Yeah.
But so she's of that mindset, and I just looked at her and I was like, I hope you're fine with having a felon for a daughter, because I sure as shit will be crossing the border to help people.
Yeah.
Like, I will be crossing the state lines. Absolutely. It's not a question.
And I just learned this on Sunday because I streamed a talk by one of the founders of the Missouri Abortion Fund, and she was explaining this to the audience, because there's tons of people in the audience that don't know anything about this. They just think Roe versus Wade was overturned, and it was, and that sucks. But it's worse than that, because Missouri decided that, we can pass a law that will automatically take effect whenever Roe versus Wade is repealed. And we don't have to wait until Roe versus Wade is appealed to pass the law, because we'll put in a trigger clause where the law will just fall into place automatically whenever that happens. It could take a month. It could take 10 years. It doesn't matter, which I didn't even think was legal. It sounds like it shouldn't be. Right. And so then what happened...
But if you think about it the other way, where someone's not being oppressed, it's a good thing.
Well, that's true, too.
Yeah.
So the morning the Supreme Court released their repeal of Roe versus Wade, 10 actual real-life minutes later, Missouri's current bans were on the books already.
Wow.
Because they set it up so they wouldn't have to wait for any bureaucracy. They wouldn't have to call a new hearing. They said, whenever it's ready, send it on out.
Yeah.
Which I don't feel like I voted for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's frustrating to me because it seems like that shouldn't be, because it makes it seem like you could pass a bunch of laws now that won't take effect until way later. And so you can stack the deck. You should only be able to pass laws that go into effect when you pass them.
Yeah, well, and that kind of circle back around to that, Project 2025 isn't going to happen. It's currently happening.
Yeah.
And
happening
I think
right
people
here.
I mean, a lot of people don't know about it or believe it, but we're living it.
Yeah.
I have a very good friend, her and her wife, thank God, got pregnant with IUI and had a wonderful baby girl. She's going to be 2 soon, but they can't do it again in Missouri. If they want more kids, they have to leave the state because they will not do the IUI procedure for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
What does that stand for?
Huh?
IUI. What does that stand for? That's
I don't know what it medically stands for, but it's when you have the embryo, you take, donor egg and donor sperm and you create the embryo and then you put it in. It's not like she couldn't have children. She just didn't have a
the
penis.
procedure
Yeah.
that's illegal? The fact that...
Yeah, well, and I think because they're lesbians. But it's,
Yeah.
Because
And there's
But
no-
that's the application of that kind of thing. That's usually when you would do that.
Yeah,
And,
because it's not what's the other
It's
one?
scary.
Yeah, it's not IVF
It's not
because
IVF.
it's not that she can't have a child. It's just
Right.
that they're a lesbian couple, so they don't have the parts.
Not all
But they
of the
do.
parts.
But they do have the donor.
They have a lot of redundant parts.
Yeah. They do have the donor still, and will be able to.
He's
have
on
another
ice
child
in the
soon.
garage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in a bathtub at a Motel 6 full of
They
ice.
just have vials of sperm in their deep freeze.
Yeah.
Just on ice.
Yeah.
They just
Gross.
they pull them out a couple times a year to milk them, and then they put them back in. They thaw him for spring break and right before Thanksgiving, and they milk the shit out of him.
Because they want to be on the
ice.
schedule with everybody else. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
No, you got to have babies in seasons. If
In
your baby's
seasons.
due at an inconvenient time, it's
Well,
just
doesn't really
creating
apply to them because Nora's about to be 9. Emily's oldest is about to be 9.
exactly.
But that was with a man. And he's the worst. That's okay.
I do want to use some of this for the episode.
Yeah.
Astrologically,
he's
where
the
are
worst.
we?
In Mercury retrograde.
It's still high noon for Mercury retrograde.
It's in Virgo.
Oh fuck!
And let me
Does that
tell
fuck
you-
with Geminis at all?
Yeah, but I'm a Virgo rising in my first house.
Well, because
That's
somebody
a
at
very
work though
important
asked
sign.
me
Yes.
because her husband's a
It
Gemini.
well, because Geminis are a Mars ruled, or sorry, a Mercury. Is it Mercury? Yeah, Mercury ruled planet. I'm pretty sure. Maybe I'm talking out my ass. I don't know. I was going to do research and it's been
You're
a
the
long
expert.
day.
You should just say it very.
Yeah, I'll just say it. Yeah.
Let's
so,
take that again. Can you start from the top? Emma, what are we expecting astrologically?
But I will say, as a Virgo rising with this retrograde in Virgo, I want to talk a lot of shit. And not just running my mouth shit. I want to just Kendrick Lamar some people. You know what I I'm pulling out all the receipts. I'm saying it all. And you're I was talking to one of my educator coworkers, and we were joking that if the two of us teamed up, I was like, if you and I teamed up to go off on people, they would need their therapist on speed dial for the next 6 years.
Yeah.
What's happening? Who should we talk shit about?
I can't say. I can't.
Okay,
Because the
so
whole
you're-
message for this Mercury retrograde is I know you want to say it, but don't say it.
Oh, good.
Because we also still are in an era of karma that's going to be, going on until probably November or something.
My God, when did it start?
currently,
That's a long time.
with that double full moon in Capricorn a couple months ago. Was it
Awesome.
June? It had to have been June.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, it's not necessarily bad. I know there's like a conjunction with Jupiter and Mars also, so that's kind of like boom energy. We do have a full moon coming up the same night as the DNC in Chicago.
That's right.
And I don't want to be a fear monger. However, I'm seeing a lot of very well-known, very accurate astrologers predict some kind of major event there that's going to be bad. Like to the point where I messaged one of my clients who lives in Chicago, and I was like, "Hey, you're not close to this, are you?" And she said that. I mean, she is, but she's not. You know, up down the street in Chicago is different than down the street in St. Louis.
Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah. And especially downtown Chicago. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not like trying to make you scared, but just make sure that you have enough stuff at home that you can hunker down for a few days if there's a big investigation or roads blocked off kind of thing.
Man.
I've heard Trump's going to die in September.
Oh, insider knowledge.
There's a big eclipse happening in September in Pisces. And I can't remember exactly what that affects in his sign, but I also don't want to get
I have read that people
hopes
think
up.
he'll drop out if he finds out he isn't at risk of going to jail.
Oh, I don't know about that. I haven't heard that.
There's people that are saying that.
Did Joe Rogan say that when
No.
you listen to Joe Rogan?
Nobody here listens to Joe Rogan.
Correction.
Who? You?
Not me. Hell no, not me.
That's what I was
know
wondering.
Not you.
Yeah,
I did watch
not
his
me.
live comedy special on Netflix because I have a suspicion that he's not that great at stand-up, even though he's like the stand-up guy. And that's totally the case. It's actually, you know what's really weird is watching him upright, like not in a chair.
Yeah, like not
'Cause-
hunkered over.
I
he's
thumbs
wearing-
downed it immediately.
He's wearing
I
like a
saw it. I was
yellow
like, nah.
shirt. I was like, of all the shirt, why
Yeah.
that shade of yellow? It's like a pump. It's like a squash yellow.
Yeah, or like mango. Like
And the special
Not that
was
Joe Rogan referred to his shirt
there were
as
a couple
mango, but-
parts of it that I thought were funny. None of it was like overtly like offensive. Like he's obviously trying to clean up some of his. I don't know, but it was
Obviously?
like
Question mark?
it seemed obvious in the special. I mean, which I really watched just for research, just to make fun of it.
yeah, exactly. Like kind of know what's going on. I don't have the patience for
Well,
that.
because I was waiting
Same.
for. There's a guy.
I refuse to even give it a stream or review
Yeah.
or money at all.
Most of my YouTube is these guys that make fun of all these famous podcast guys, and I don't even watch like a lot of the original shows they make fun of because they're not entertaining. But the guy making fun of them is hilarious. And I was waiting and waiting and waiting, not for the Rogan special to drop, but for the guy to drop an hour-long video roasting how bad it was, and he didn't do it. So not yet.
Hopefully it's on its way.
Podcast cringe on YouTube, not a sponsor or a
Oh,
friend,
love that.
but just a guy I like. Oh, I'm disabled. I'm neurodivergent.
Disabled.
I said that to somebody last night. The guy that told me to go to Kind Goods today. He was
I've
we're-
heard good things about that one.
yeah, they got ounces for $85. Not a sponsor. Yeah. Hello.
What?
That's where I was. And the
Sorry to my plug.
but I was outside of Bluewood for my weekly trivia game, which is very successful. Actually, don't even bother coming because it's
that
full.
yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even. I've worked for 9 days, almost 9 days straight. I don't know what day it is
Yeah,
today.
no, I'm with you. And the what were we talking about?
Outside of Bluewood, trivia don't come.
So we were smoking a bowl outside of Bluewood last night, and the guy was like, "Don't you worry about people coming up and saying something?" I said, "I wish they would say something. As far as they know, I'm a disabled veteran."
People were
Yeah.
smoking pot in the streets before it was recreational.
Before it was legal. Now
the
it's-
city?
now
What are we in
people's
the county?
people's moms are coming up to me. Oh, that smells good. And
Yeah.
this is what I told everybody was going to happen. If weed became broadly legal, it was going to become so mainstream that now it sucks because now it's like your elderly aunt is like, "Oh, you know what? I got a bubbler."
I'm excited for the eventuality of Missouri becoming more similar to like the West Coast or places that's been more established with recreational, where you get like $1 house roll. I mean, I don't know if I told the story on the pod
Yeah.
before, but in California, I was at a dispensary and it got kind of crowded and was kind of, everybody's everywhere. And so, security guy came down and was like, "Oh, everybody needs to get in line." He obviously was not a partaker. And, I let some girls go in front of me because I was just like in a candy store, you know what I mean? I'm like, ooh.
This is before we had those here, yeah.
Yeah, and we only had medical, I think, at
Yeah.
the time. And it had been a minute since I'd been to a Cali dispensary. And I got up to the front, and the girl was like, "Thank you so much for letting them jump in front of you. Like, I know you were here before them." And she was like, "I'm going to give you a pre-roll on the house. What do you smoke?" And I was like, Yes. And there was a referral program, so anytime I went with somebody, I got a coupon. I got a
nice.
discount. I think I still have 35% off or 40 of my next.
Damn.
Yeah. So.
I love when I can coupon drugs.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
What, a bargain?
You can't coupon.
But
your.
But why were we talking about that?
It was your story. We were talking about some guy talking to you about kind goods.
Well, and that's just the thing. It's because I'm old enough now that I could be a disabled veteran because it's been long enough.
You look like one.
I could because
The veteran part, though. That stolen valor.
Yeah.
Well, that's only if someone is trying to tell me not to do something that has nothing to do with them.
Yeah.
I don't go around saying I'm a disabled veteran. It's not on my Facebook. But if I'm standing in front of my place of business hosting my sold out trivia game,
Yeah.
my sold out free trivia game every
Thursday
Thursday that
At Bluewood.
6:30 round one is at 6:30. Try the chicken.
So good.
The chicken's really good.
I know. I have not
Oh
done
my,
yet.
that
Yeah.
chicken is.
The new chicken is good. And I'm saying if someone were to come out of their lane emotionally to come into my lane to say, quit smoking weed in front of Bluewood, I would say, ma'am, I'm a disabled veteran. You're lucky to be alive right now.
Amazing. Thank
But
you.
it didn't happen. It was just hypothetical. I've never even
We're just,
actually had
we're
to
just
do
waiting
that.
for the moment.
I was just really all I said was I had that thought that I could do that if that happened, but it didn't even happen.
Just prove my point that you're a liar, but that's okay.
Emma's mad. Lucius, are you familiar that I told Emma for years that I got kicked out of Golden Corral for putting ham in the chocolate
Not
fountain?
ham, it was meatloaf.
Meatloaf in the chocolate fountain.
And they said you can't mix the savories and the sweets.
And she believed it
And
for
I
years.
believed it
Yeah.
for so long until I found out it was a lie, and so now I just don't believe anything.
It was not a lie. It was a fun story.
It was a lie.
It was just like a bit.
Because
that
I
you were
told
doing?
people
Yeah,
about
it was a
it.
bit.
I think
Yeah.
I was more angry because I told people about it because that makes sense. Because it makes sense.
just
Yeah.
like
Am I
when-
wrong? The story
Yeah.
makes sense.
Famously-
Jake seems like he would dip meatloaf in a fucking chocolate fountain.
The truth is,
I've seen him do
Golden
weird
Corral
shit.
doesn't have the security to keep me from doing that. And so the idea
He was just a
I
disabled
could
veteran
do
who was
that.
hanging out at the Golden Corral.
Yeah,
He already knew
I was
you were
in the
trouble.
disabled veterans section at Golden Corral.
Who's going to question you?
Yeah. I had a beard. I was 19, but I had a beard. And it's just like Clay told people for years that Wes Anderson and Paul Thomas Anderson were brothers because I told him that and just held up the bit long enough for him to believe it and then carry it on and pass that along for 15 years.
Hilarious.
I feel like that was a hate crime towards me since I have, ADHD. I think you were hate criming me. So I'm going to tell people from now on. That's my bit. What do you think about that?
Okay, you turned into my mother there for a minute. How about that?
That's my bit.
That's like my mom would.
that,
My mom, when I was in
Jacob.
college, my mom would scream things at me like, "How about you tell your therapist about that?" Would be like drunk somewhere, and like
Yeah.
she'd say something ridiculous. She'd be like, "Tell your therapist that one." Whoa.
I wish
I told my
mom would.
therapist about your mom making out with my boyfriends.
Hilarious.
That's good. That's a good one.
She can actually make out. I'm not going to offend Miss Candy. She did. She was very handsy with one of them. Though. Rob was like, "What do you want me to do? You want me to stop her?"
Yeah.
So I was like, "My mother."
think
I don't,
That
she's
may
got her
have
dick
been-
in my. She's got her dick in my. You just want me to stop?
I think that was the same
on
night.
his lap.
That was like the same era where everyone had left, but Donnie came. She wasn't in bed, so Donnie came out to try to find her, and she was naked in the hallway doing karate
No.
kicks. Was that the same night?
It was New Year's Eve because you guys were playing. Yeah, it was on with that dude Tyler.
Yeah, and then after you guys left, she was naked karate kicking in the hallway.
Did she have the taser that night? Or was
Yeah,
it
she came
This
out
is insane.
at midnight, and she had a taser. She
We
said,
used to go back
"Happy
to
New
Jake's-
Year, motherfuckers!" Clack, clack, clacking a real taser in the house.
We used to go back to Jake's mom's house after binge drinking in downtown Kirkwood, and then to nightcap it, we were drinking moonshine.
Out of an Aquafina bottle in my mom's freezer.
Oh my god! I did vodka out of a Dasani.
Oh yeah, that was very high school.
Dang, that's crazy.
R.I.P. to the days I used to drink. I used to be so fun.
That's the thing. It's like this is how you're supposed to do it, though. You're supposed to do a lot of it, just enough so you have stuff to talk about later when you quit.
And I also got a head start. I mean, I was like
Yeah.
out clubbing in bars and shit
Yeah.
when I was 17.
With
so
like
there's-
foreign nationals,
yeah,
ambassadors and shit, dignitaries.
that's giving them a lot of credit.
That's what they told us. They said I'm a dignitary, but he's like a mechanic.
Is that your Bosnian accent?
I was just a vague anybody else.
He's a cultural
Attaché.
Attaché to Greece. That's what you tell your parents.
Yeah.
Mom, this is Ahmed. He's a cultural attaché to Greece.
Yeah.
Oh, Greece.
I don't know that my mom would believe anything if I said.
Yeah.
Depends
Yeah.
on what he looks like. I
Yeah.
don't know. My
What is
type
that-
doesn't scream
what is that
cultural
language
attaché.
called?
Bosnian?
Yeah.
Oh,
Because isn't it the same as Croatian?
that's.
Whoa, who you?
ask.
Yeah, who you?
But
Yeah, everyone was
I
like,
mean,
"Ugh."
I just meant physically,
So it's
like, aren't
there's
the words the same?
Serbo-Croat,
Yeah.
similar. I mean, it's kind of like how like Spanish in Mexico is different than Spanish in Spain.
It's dialectical.
Or, yeah. It's not.
But
like
what
there
is
are
the
major
language called that
differences.
those are dialects of?
I'll Google it.
She's gonna.
You want it, Lucius, or am I doing
got
it?
it.
I can't. I don't speak much of it anymore. And like my favorite Bosnian singer, apparently like retired, and now he's a fucking Buddhist monk or some shit.
That's good.
So weird.
That's a journey.
I had somebody reach out to me randomly on Instagram because I posted a picture from his concert when he was in town, which was such a fun night.
Bosnian, Croatian, and Serbian.
Yeah, I mean Bosno-Croat or Serbo-Croat, depends on the dialect, but yeah. But like some person randomly messaged out me and was like, "Oh my God, you like Boban?" And I was like, "Yeah, that concert was great." You know, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know many other Americans that know it." And I was like, "Yeah, I know a few."
He came here?
Yeah, he was at Club Europe.
Oh, I wish I had been at that.
I don't know why you weren't.
Oh,
Well, I mean, because I wasn't going to risk that. It was a Bosnian concert, brother. It wasn't like Bosnian clubs.
Are you saying I wouldn't have been allowed?
I just wanted to have a good night, you know? The last time we
Oh,
were at
well,
a
I was.
Bosnian
This is
club
the thing
together,
too. I was telling somebody this
you might have
story.
been sober. No.
I was telling somebody this story. Can we talk about this?
What?
Ellie's birthday party,
Which one?
the one that I wasn't invited to, on purpose so that everyone would have fun.
Oh no.
That was not the case. That was her 22nd birthday because she turned 21
No.
before the rest of us. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
thought
we
it
thought
was her-
she was going to die.
I thought it was her 21st birthday.
No, it was her 22nd birthday because we all couldn't drink for her 21st birthday yet. Because I'm the baby, so I'm the last one. Like she,
No, I'm talking about way before that. I'm talking about in high school.
I don't remember that. You're talking to the wrong friend.
Didn't you orchestrate the whole party in David Vergano's backyard?
I don't think so, and I feel like that's a slanderous thing to say. Was that the one where Michelle hooked up with the dude I was talking to in the tent?
In the tent. Everyone was hooking up in the tent. And I wasn't invited.
Oh, that's.
That wasn't her 21st. It was if I was in high school.
That's what I was saying. You said it was 21st. That's I was saying that's not right.
It was real fun. I thought she was going to die. And then she was so drunk, I didn't realize how drunk I was. And Keenan was even worse off. That was when her grandparents had to come pick us and her mom up. From
I'm
the
talking
bar.
about in high school.
Yeah, you're talking to the wrong friend. I don't. Why
You
do
weren't in
think I
charge of
remember?
that?
I don't.
I thought you
think
threw,
so.
I thought you threw the whole party.
I don't. Okay. That was definitely part of my like trauma brain. I remember the party when you guys talk about it, but only because that friend hooked up with the dude I was talking to. But I don't remember the party.
Okay, good. Me neither, because I wasn't invited. And that's why I didn't celebrate Ellie's birthday for 10 years, and that's why I wasn't at
that's
her
why.
22nd.
It sounds like it really hurt you.
You weren't at her 22nd because we were having a girls' night because she was going through a breakup.
And I don't celebrate her fucking birthday.
I know you don't.
I tell that bitch, miss me with that. Why don't you go climb into a tent with somebody's boyfriend, bitch?
7-Eleven. She didn't do that. It was Michelle.
No, that's what I'm saying. I wasn't invited. How would I know? I can't use any of that. Well, that's 5 minutes. Scrap it. We're bulking tonight. We're just.
I don't know who. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember a lot of high school though.
Good. I don't want to talk about it either.
You and Ellie are my memory from high school.
Well, that's an honor.
There are parties that Keenan was apparently at that I don't remember.
Poor
her being
Keenan.
there.
People don't just remember. I brought Keenan to a wedding of people that we went to high school with, that she had classes with, and they said, "Oh, Jake, is this your girlfriend?"
Hilarious.
It's okay. All right, good to see everybody.
I'm allowed to laugh.
Dude,
I've been friends with
honestly,
her since 8th grade.
I went to my girlfriend's sister's house for like her niece's birthday, and we walked in, and there was somebody that I thought I didn't know, and I introduced myself wholeheartedly, and she was like, "You've met me multiple times."
I get that a lot.
You've met me multiple times. Like,
I'm really good
birthday
at playing
parties and
it
stuff, and I was
off.
like, oh my god. Yeah.
I'm pretty good at remembering, like, at least faces. I mean, I
Yeah.
kind of have to with what I do. It's a very social job, so there are a couple of things. But like, there have been times when I'm like, I don't know who you are.
I will often insist that I've met somebody before if they're acting unsure, because if they look familiar to me at all, I have to assume I'm supposed to know them, because I've made that mistake so much where I'll say, who the fuck is that? And it's somebody that I've hung out with several times for a year.
Yeah.
And somebody will say, oh, like London, who's coming in here tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like the first year that I was hanging out with those people, when they would say London, I'd be like, who the fuck is London? And I would meet him at every show. And it took like a year for me to figure out, oh, that's which one he is.
Yeah.
And now we're cool. But that was,
Before I forget, Lucius, I need you to move your next haircut appointment to 3 p.m.
Okay.
Because I'm not there at 1 p.m. Because I asked Kim. I wanna see
Oh,
you.
really?
Yes.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, as I was like, hey,
Yeah.
Kim, when's Lucius's next appointment?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's just where the hair is. You know
It's
what
where
I
the
mean?
hair
It's where the
is.
hair
It's where
We
you
is.
get
actually
your
just
hair
got a
done.
tattoo artist.
No
in the building.
shit.
Yeah,
That
they're
makes
splitting a
sense.
loft with like an esthetician or something.
That makes sense.
That's sick.
Which is
That could be
cool. I
smart.
mean, yeah, I just started following him on Instagram. He seems decent. I mean, he doesn't do the
Yeah.
kind of work that I like, but that's, preference.
Yeah.
He does a lot of fine line stuff, which is cool.
Yeah.
When are you going to start getting tattoos again?
Well, this Sky Rizzy is in phase 2. I had my second dose, and the healing is still underway, and I'm probably in the clear, but I think I get a 4-month dose,
Okay.
and so I may wait till
After
then.
you're done with the Sky Rizzy, you can get tattooed. I know nothing about
No,
that.
I'll be on the Sky Rizzy kind of indefinitely. I get it for free for 2 years, not a sponsor. I guess technically that would qualify as a sponsorship. But they don't know about the show. They just know that I have a condition called moderate to severe plaque psoriasis.
Every time I see the commercial on Peacock, I want to send you the video.
If anyone ever says, "Do you have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis?" That's me. I do.
Yeah.
But
does.
but I've been healed by Damon chemicals. Look at this. Look, I can just show you my arm skin. Is that shoulder? That's just the shadow of my microphone, I think. Look at my clear.
You got an open sore on your forearm. though.
That's different. Unrelated.
Unrelated.
I like to keep.
Your
I
skin
like
looks
to,
beautiful though. It's glowing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
look great.
Yeah, and so it used to be a lot worse, guys.
Well,
and
you should go to my dude who tattoos me.
I'm down. It's been so long since I got one. I have no loyalties
The only
to the
negative is
streets.
he works in St. Charles.
Well, never mind.
I know. It's so hard. I'm like, come on. He left the shop he used to work at.
Oh,
thank
is he
God.
off motherfucking Cave Springs?
No, he's off like the main strip now.
Oh,
he used
like
to be
Fifth
off
Street or
Sunbelt.
whatever?
Yeah.
Oh.
Now he's no longer at that shop. Thank God.
Now he's in the
Sunbelt.
floodplain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Nick K tattoos.
Emma, what are you excited about?
I don't know. Shit. Not much, man. I just try to wake up every day.
Yeah,
Look forward to my coffee.
yeah. You don't want to wake up and be dead.
Well,
What are you worried about?
what am I worried about? That'll bring the show down it'll get real dark real quick. I mean, right now, currently, 2 of my grandparents are in the hospital, so that's
Oh,
a
yeah.
bummer. And I've only lost, I know you have lost, are all of your grandparents gone?
No,
No, they're not.
no, just half.
Just half of them.
Yeah.
And then Ellie's grandparents are
Yeah.
gone. I don't know about her
It's-
dad's parents. But
what we're
and then
commenting on
Keenan's
is the stage of life we're in.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I've only lost one grandparent. And that's when I was 10. So
Well,
I
and
don't-
you're the youngest of us, of our
Yeah.
friends and whatnot.
Yeah.
And Lucius is our age. And,
Yeah.
And so you're in that spectrum. And that's the thing that I've been reflecting on a lot, is that we're confronting adulthood in a way
yeah.
that is new. We're not like young and like in the bars and going to concerts every night and stuff like that anymore.
No.
But we're not like completely established into our second half of our life either.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like the beginning of a new phase. I'm looking forward to that. I really
Yeah.
am. I think things are going to be really good, at least good from here on out. I can't say great. I can't say amazing. There's ebb and flow to everything, and I think that's kind of my dip down right now is like facing that I'm going to start losing family members soon, and that's not a loss I've experienced yet. I
Yeah.
mean, I've lost very dear loved ones, friends, partners. And that's a different kind.
Different, yeah.
I mean, you know me, I talk
Well,
to dead
because
people,
when
so
you-
I know they're always around.
When you
but it's just
lose
weird.
them, you remember what life was like before them. Whereas certain people in your life, you can't remember what life was like before them because they're in your family and your upbringing. You know what I mean? So it's a different structure of your
Yeah.
life perspective.
I guess I don't know. I mean, I guess you know, with Smitty, he'd known me since I was 17, and I was 29, 30 when he passed. What was that? He passed in 2020, and so he knew me for a big chunk of my life. I think probably because I don't remember a lot of the beginning of my life, it doesn't affect me as much. You know what I'm saying? Like I have trauma brain, so I don't remember a lot of it. So I can't. It doesn't really matter anyway if we were friends or not, because I don't know you. I don't know who you were, but that loss of somebody that's known you almost your whole life, I think, and you've known them. I think that's. I don't know. I'm nervous about it.
Well, and I bring this up because I think people are not having complicated conversations in entertainment in a way that we used to have when I used to watch like Oprah.
Oh, well, yeah.
Or stuff like that. Like I watched tons of that stuff. Like I would,
yeah, I have the
I
Oprah
would
box
sometimes
set.
accidentally get a little introspective.
Yeah.
I would start accidentally learning things before Judge Judy came on. There's this new guy at the time, Dr. Phil. He would maybe say something that made me consider my own life in a new way. Now it's just everything is Fruit Ninja.
Yeah, well, I think even with talk shows too, it's very watered down because I don't think they want to turn into the Oprahs and the Dr. Phils, where it's like, oh, you were actually kind of a sham.
Because it's also not contemporary. Like the nobody under the age of 30 is watching any kind of a talk show.
But I think that's because we now have social media and we're so exposed to everything at our fingertips all the time, constantly. So people want to check out of that and go on to TV and not have to deal with those serious, heavy topics.
Yeah.
But I think that's a
the thing,
shame
too.
because we do that regularly.
When people are actually suffering, we see a lot more self-soothing type of entertainment, and we don't really get to some of the deeper issues. When more people are comfortable, then you can spend more time on really challenging things. And sometimes now, though, because everything is made in such a niche, sometimes we get just stuff that's like trauma porn for rich people. Like Orange is the New Black. It's like, it starts off.
It's a very whitewashed version
It's
of learning
so-
how to not be a piece of shit.
Yeah. And it's made for kind of that coastal kind of mainstream, like elite, like liberal crowd where they think they're
You know,
so
I met Leah
altruistic.
Delaria,
Who?
the big boo from Orange is the New Black.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She was in town.
Well, she's like from Belleville, but her a friend of mine did her nephew's hair, and he had a party one time, and she was in town, and she was going to be there. So I just sit
sick.
there at this party and pretend like I didn't know who the fuck she was.
Are you serious?
Because I'm not a dork. I'm not going to be like, oh my god, you know. I was just like, oh hi, nice to meet you, and I'm like texting my mom, like, Mom, I'm sweating. I'm sitting next to Big Boo. I don't know what to do. I'm freaking out right now.
Can you see if Alfred's here?
Yep. Where do you want me to put him?
Bring him in there with you for now.
All right, perfect.
What were you were talking about exposure to the tactile?
Well-
I just think people aren't. It goes back into what we were saying. You and I and our friend group have gotten to a point in our growth and our emotional intelligence and those things that we like to have those hard conversations. Because we recognize that it helps us grow and confronting the things that we view from a privileged standpoint, and being able to have that other side. And that's not to say that anyone's playing devil's advocate, because in the year 2024, we don't need the fucking devil's advocate anymore because it's just there.
Yeah.
What I think is shocking is that there was an assassination attempt on a former president, and nobody cares about it 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
Like, it's just in the news. And, that speaks to gun control. I believe in owning guns. I think that if you need that to protect yourself, great. I don't think you need war weapons in your home.
I could take this opportunity to say this. I owned an AR-15 for a brief time.
Yeah.
And I sold it
But
to
did you buy it or did you get inherited?
I inherited
Yeah.
it. And it was sort of a ridiculous purchase. You could tell it had like writing on it. I think when you opened the hatch where the bullets would come out, the shells would come out after you would shoot it. I forget what they call that.
Clip?
No. The part where they would there's like a hatch there, and it would pop open. It said, "You're fucked." It's like my grandfather bought it on like a Fox News banner ad. I'm sure.
I'm sure.
And left it to me, and my job for the family was to find safe, legal homes for all of the guns, right? And so that happened in various ways. But that was one of the first things. I still, own plenty of things, but that one specifically, I was like, that's not something that I want to own or be responsible for being the caretaker of. Because the shooting that happened at the Performing Arts School here, just down the street, that way, was like 3/4 of an AR-15. Like it was left kind of in pieces, and then. Those guns are famous.
It was probably a ghost gun
for being put back together. I think it was that they thought it was like broken. It didn't have a part of it on it. It was like missing a whole piece. I forget. I'd have to look it up. But that there's a lot of people that agree with that. That like I certainly want people to have access to owning a gun for personal defense. But the AR-15, like that was used in that case, and in a lot of these cases, it seems ridiculous.
Well, there just needs to be more education around guns, gun safety, and knowledge of ownership of guns. I cannot legally own a gun because I have been institutionalized. And I don't think people understand that or realize that. And I have a good friend who we were having that conversation, and she had also been institutionalized. And I told her, she said something about having a gun, and I was like, baby, you can't have that. You're not allowed to have that. And she was like, well, what are you talking about? They sold it to me. And I was like, and that's the problem. You know what I mean? Like
I was about to say, have you tried to get one? Because you could get one very easily.
Well, I could get any kind of gun I wanted to, but
But you're just saying, like, if you were caught.
Besides
with
the point,
right? But also kind of the point, like that it is so accessible.
Yeah, I mean, I could get one.
Right. Yeah.
That doesn't mean I legally am allowed to own it.
Yeah.
If I were to use it, which is why I don't have one because I would. And that's also a level of self-awareness. I mean, I dated a guy who had a gun, and like on our first date, we were going to a bar, and he was like, "Do you care if I had this on me?" And I was like, "No, I don't care." And I was like, "Is it legal or is it illegal? I just need to know for plausible deniability." You know what I mean? And to cover, whatever. And so anyway, I told him, I said, "Look, like I have a temper. I work really hard on it. Sometimes that doesn't work." And I was like, if you ever, hear me losing my temper, if I'm yelling, because I don't yell very often, I like hide the gun. You know what I mean? And he kind of scoffed at it, and he was like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "Okay, bet. Okay, you can laugh all you want." And sure enough, we were at my place. He had the gun on the living room table, and I went to let the dogs out, and I had an awful neighbor at the time. It makes me mad even thinking about him. But anyway, something happened. I lost my temper.
Yeah.
And sure as shit, once I got the dogs back inside safe, I went for that gun on the table, and it was not there anymore. And I was like, oh, we listened. Good for you. You thought I was lying, but I'm really crazy. And then it was funny because I was like crying afterwards because I don't like getting out of my character. I don't like that.
I mean, but honestly, it sounds like a good reason that you shouldn't own
a gun. 100%. That's why I don't.
Yeah.
I don't want one. I don't need to have one. I have other weapons that I protect myself with, but not.
I love that story because I don't know still whose side I'm on.
Yeah.
Which one? My neighbor?
No, with you and the because you said, and then I went for the gun and it wasn't there, and I said, "Good job."
Yeah,
because he was
like, "Wait, what did you want
because
to
he
happen?"
listened, because he scoffed at me originally. He was like, "Oh, you're 5'5", a little girl. What are you gonna do?" And I'm like, "A lot of damage is what I can do." But and then of course afterwards in the come, I was like trying to regulate again and like not be upset, and I'm crying, and I was like, "I think I told him that I hope his cats get hit by a car." And he was like, while Samson was running around the parking lot. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I felt really bad about it. I don't want the cats to get hurt. I just hate it. Like, it was ridiculous. But that's the thing is that I know myself. I know I have a temper. I know certain things will set me off to the point where I'm not in control anymore.
Yeah, sure.
And that's what we're saying. You got to know yourself.
That's that.
You got to know your
responsibility part.
limitations, and you got to know that. Just know yourself is what I'm saying.
But I don't think a lot of people.
What kind of people?
White men.
Oh.
I don't think many of them know themselves, And I think that, again, as we talked about last time on the podcast, go to fucking therapy. Go to therapy.
And
Get
then
help.
get on the apps.
Yeah.
Get on the apps, but do a little bit of therapy first.
For the love of God.
And that's also probably not bad to try.
Also, stop listening to Joe Rogan. If you're a white man, stop. If you're a man, if you're anybody, stop listening to Joe Rogan. Just stop.
They're falling off really hard. The numbers are not good.
I don't know about that.
Month by month. No, it's bad. It's sad.
Because you watch?
No, because I watched the guy that roasts the shit all the time. He's like, this episode only had 900,000
I'm
views.
so mad because on all of my cryptid subreddits, I guess some Bigfoot person was on Joe Rogan, and so they keep posting these clips, and I'm like, downvote, downvote, downvote.
Yeah.
Just get this shit off my fucking screen. I don't even want to see that weird human growth hormone shaped dome on my
Yeah.
fucking ugh.
Exactly.
God, he's
He sold my poor sweet mother Alpha Brain, and she's afraid to take it.
what?
His supplement. My mom
Elaborate.
bought Alpha Brain.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did. She bought one bottle.
For what?
I don't know, but then she was afraid to take it.
Yeah, because it's probably garbage.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, there's probably nothing in it that's really harmful. It's probably just dust. It's probably vitamin dust.
But yeah. It's over there. We can go over there and try it.
Stop supporting
I didn't-
shitty people.
my
I'm not talking
mom
about
bought
you in general. Like, shitty people do not deserve your energy.
Oh, let's-
Stop
you know what?
rage watching things.
That's what we should end your segment with for episode 100 of Jacob B. Weekly is let's plug some businesses that we do support.
Oh, businesses we do support.
Somebody we like. There's one right down the street here.
Sheer Hair at Salon Lofts in the Grove.
That's where the hair is.
Appointments available. We've got that. That I just posted today about Feast Magazine, right? Is that what
Yes.
Feast Magazine has their nominations out for best whatever restaurants in St. Louis. I believe it's just city. I don't think it's county.
Oh, good.
And so please go to Feast and vote for Damn Fine Hand Pies.
Damn fine hand
Yeah,
pies.
they are nominated in a couple different categories. Blue Wood Brewing, obviously.
Blue Wood.
They're up for a nomination. Good Company, as
Good
well
company,
as
STL in the Grove.
yeah, as well as vote for John Priestley for Best Chef from Good Company.
Is he nominated? Mm-hmm. Oh, see.
Yeah.
That's
Honorable
4
mention to
things.
Joe Vic Brothers Deli. I have not spoken to
Actually,
Casey
and their
in
burger
years.
place right by my house is real good.
Is it really?
Jovich Brothers Burgers is right. It used to be the
But
corner
that's in
bistro.
competition with Good Company. So don't vote for them in the burgers. But for the deli,
Oh, correct.
vote for them.
I never get the burgers at the Jovich Brothers Burgers because they have a chicken sandwich that I love.
Casey and I used to work by each other, and I'm proud of him for following his dreams. We kind of fell out of touch, but
Yeah.
I'm good. He's wanted to do that for a long
They
time.
have a spot in Westport too still?
I don't know. I know they have 2 locations,
I
maybe
think-
3.
I think that's the deli is at Westport.
Yeah.
So we're going to pivot. My attorney is here. Alfred Ludwig back, returning to the show for episode 100. We'll be right back.
I'll take pictures.
I'm gonna stay rolling.
Yeah, audio can stay.
All right.
I haven't started on the ham yet. What do I do with my hand? Where do I look?
Okay, so that's actually your camera. So if you want to make a connection
So
with the
that
audience at any point, yeah, it's crossed.
If I look generally this way, it'll look like I'm kind of like interacting.
You're welcome to address me.
I mean, I probably will like talk to you a fair amount. That's, you know,
And,
what people do.
I've really got the workflow down since I've been doing it here so that, we used to do it live so I wouldn't have to do any editing. But
Right.
now that I've opened my heart to editing,
I mean, it's a much better product.
you've seen it. You've seen the
I watch your
transformation.
podcast. Come on.
Well, no, but I meant you noticed the...
Oh yeah, no. When you went to this format, I didn't realize this wasn't your basement. I had no idea you were doing it in the studio.
Oh!
So like when you said the
Jake,
studio,
you
I
gotta-
thought you meant studio a la casa.
A la casa.
And not an actual studio. What is the name of it now? It's not Shock City anymore.
No, this was never Shock City. This was the Gaslight Lounge.
Yeah.
And now it's Doorstop Studio.
Doorstop.
Lucius is the sole proprietor.
Yes.
Well, Lucius, it's a pleasure to meet you, and I've
Yeah,
been
you as
wanting
well.
to come here for many years. But
That's the
Oh,
thing,
awesome.
too, is that you haven't met Lucius, because Lucius played drums on a lot of stuff I was doing before Lucius moved, and then Chris moved back.
okay.
And so then Chris moving back was like, well, now we just need a bass player for this version of life. And by then we had done the Radiohead thing. and whatnot. Guys, we're back. Jacob V Weekly, episode 100. For the first time in about 3 years, Alfred Ludwig.
Do we know what the actual last date was? Did you look it up?
I didn't look it up.
I didn't either.
I wouldn't be able to tell you. It was, I could look at my YouTube history. Since we're rolling, I can close this. I can close. How do you look? You look good. I'm going to leave that like that. So if I go into my YouTube Creator Studio, we probably did it as a live.
I'm guessing it was winter of 20, late 20, or early 21.
Yeah, I'm thinking it had to be early 21 just because the show didn't start until October of 20, I don't think. I had to start it because I was being forced to go back into work during the day, but I still couldn't gig, and that upset me.
Yeah.
It was upsetting to me.
Going into work upsets me still.
Oh, yeah.
I do it as little as I can.
Yeah, my wife is having that same problem, that they're upping it to 4 days a week instead of 3 days a week, and it's just not fun.
It is good to be a partner at a law firm. I can kind of do what I want.
Well, and then, you got your Ethernet dialed in at home.
Well, that's it. I just never stop working. So it's time not spent on the drive.
Exactly.
When I'm in the middle of doing it. Like
Alfred, it's been a long time, Alfred.
It really, really has.
So we did a Jacob V and the Yes Men rehearsal live stream 3 years ago.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. What show did we play after that?
That must have been...
Maybe the one with the Fremonts?
Yeah. Oh, that would make sense.
Where we were the only ones in the audience for
that's
the
a bummer.
Fremonts.
I still love them.
They deserved so much better than that.
Yeah, that's always a bummer when that happens.
So I felt totally obligated to stay, but I really enjoyed it, what they did.
I think it was May of 2021. I'm seeing you in the thumbnail for sure, May of 21.
That is the rehearsal one.
No.
Oh, that's when we did the actual, because we did 2 sessions.
Yeah, that was the last time you were on Jacob V Weekly as a guest, would have been 5/7/21.
All right, so a solid 3+ years.
3+ years, and you're back, and we have so many things we want to talk about. You know what's funny? It's been over 3 years, and now we're coming up on election season.
Yeah,
and it's almost like we didn't need you until the votes were coming up.
It's you don't need me now.
No, I know, but I kind of feel like I need the perspective.
Well, I am a lawyer, so I have a specific outlook on a lot of procedural aspects of the law and how our elected officials operate. So I don't want to pretend I'm an expert in everything.
No one thinks that.
I can get there, especially as my
guys. This is not a financial advice platform. We are here to entertain and empower you.
And I am a lawyer, but this is not legal advice. Under any
certainly not legal advice. I'm going to put a disclaimer.
Put it right in between the two of you's heads.
Oh, let me put my fucking headphones back on.
Oh, you didn't even hear it?
I heard it.
He's still not even hearing it too.
I was just raw dogging the pod.
But yes, the no legal advice right here.
Yeah, right here it's going to say this is not legal advice, and if you tell somebody it is, that's a felony.
We have officially disclaimed it. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a felony.
Yeah, now we went too far. That's why what happens when you belabor the point. And I was just mentioning this to Emma in the first segment we did, that I've been hearing rumors from some people that I don't necessarily, in the social media space, who make a living critiquing this stuff. I don't necessarily think they're an authority. However, some people are saying if Trump can figure out that he doesn't have to go to jail, then he may drop out of the race.
I mean, he's certainly unfit to run a campaign. I think his people are seeing that.
We could do this whole afternoon just on the press conference yesterday.
Gosh. Oh my gosh.
I couldn't make it more than 10 minutes.
I put it on double speed on YouTube so that I could, and I worked while it was on, and I got no work done when I did it. It was so mesmerizing.
It was over an hour. His sets are too long.
He
did 90 straight minutes at the RNC.
It is, every word is not true, which is to say, all of the words are not true words. There's no truth that comes out of that man at any point. He just says random things that are just insulting his opponent, whoever. He's just a rambling old man. He's really deteriorated. He wasn't ever a super intelligent guy, but he was very put together in his whole shtick.
He just seems so agitated.
He's panicking right now because I do think he still believes he'll go to jail if he loses, which is a very real possibility. So I don't see him ever voluntarily backing out.
Especially if he loses to a prosecutor.
Well, she's made that case directly, but of course she's not going to be the one actually
No, of
prosecuting
course.
him.
But it's just like the vibe is very much. And because when he got shot in the ear, which is horrible.
If he got shot.
When he got shot, please don't pull me into this. Oh, no. You and me are going to be on InfoWars.
The FBI has said they cannot conclusively determine that he was shot. I don't know. He definitely grabbed his ear when he went down. That to me is the clearest sign that whether he was shot with a bullet, it was a result of being shot at by a bullet. And what's the difference at that point? It's a stupid point to quarrel over.
My thing is,
go on.
What was it though?
Simply that. Well, it was not simple. There was
when he got shot, he was running against Joe Biden. And we, even here, have all felt how different we feel about the whole situation now that it's no longer Joe Biden. Me and Keenan still listen to the Bo Burnham song about they're really gonna make me vote for Joe Biden.
It was a banger.
That's still a great song, but now they're not going to make us vote for Joe Biden. And so I like everyone that's involved in the campaign now a lot more than I thought I did, because I was so aggravated that we were playing Weekend at Bernie's to the guy who should have run instead of Hillary when maybe his brain still worked and that we wouldn't have had this problem. But I don't like to live in the past and argue those things because I still think George W. Bush is a war criminal and should be in jail, but he doesn't know he's a war criminal. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Biden is a tragic figure.
Joe Biden.
Like, he clearly was a sharp guy back in the day.
And it's a bummer. They fucked him out of 2 terms as president by making him...
2016 is the debacle everyone should point their finger at.
Yeah.
Because it was the worst series of decisions that the party ever made.
And he's a victim of it, too.
He was. I think he legitimately didn't want to do it, didn't know he had the strength to do it. You know, Bo had just died.
That's true.
And he was going through the grieving process
Wrong
in
kid died.
2014 or 2015, whenever it happened. So, like, I think he legitimately was like, I'm done. Like, my son's dead. I have one son who's a mess.
Yeah.
Like,
and that was peak crack smoking days.
Yeah. Hunter was in bad shape.
Hunter was in really bad shape, but Hunter never went full Charlie Sheen.
We don't know what Hunter did, in fairness, and we don't know what Charlie Sheen did.
I meant Hunter didn't go on the news, though, and talk about Tiger Blood.
No, he didn't do the media tour that Charlie Sheen did.
That's all I actually meant.
true.
You're right, because some of the photos from the alleged laptop are crazy.
Who knows? Right?
I like the gunplay.
I didn't dig deep into the Hunter Biden.
Woo, I'll send you some shit.
The Marjorie Taylor
You on
Greene,
Reddit, brother?
Spank Bank.
You and me are not going to sleep until Monday.
I mean, no, thank you. I have seen enough horrifying things in my time. I grew up on the early internet when, there were sites, boy.
Oh, God.
You can't even imagine the depravity.
The things I have seen done to just illustrations of Osama bin Laden on the early internet, horrifying.
It's nothing a young person should see ever,
It's not a safe
or an
space.
older person.
I was just telling my wife this on the way here, and I was an early adopter and a longtime fan of this thing. But I think maybe the internet was a mistake.
It's certainly ruining humanity.
I don't think it's good. I think it could have been good, and it's not now.
And shitification, right? Like, that's what they call it.
Yeah.
When it's not even necessarily engineered, it's just that everybody got sick of doing innovative things and now are phoning it in anyway. And it's, you've got TikTok and Threads or whatever, the video format other servers are, the YouTube Shorts, and it's 6 seconds of entertainment, and then our brains move on. It's brain rot's real. As a father of 4 children, some of whom are very into TikTok, brain rot is definitely a real
How do you
thing.
combat that as a father?
I lean into it, I send my daughter a TikTok of me talking to you on the last podcast we did, and make her watch it, and you just sort of, there's good content.
She's good for a follow. She followed us.
I think she did. Because she sent me a clip later. I think she got on.
I'm told by the team.
Anyway, the answer is you can't stop change.
But
right?
how do you advocate for their literacy?
You just talk. The best thing I ever had was a half an hour every morning for 2 years with my son, who now drives, so I don't drive him to school anymore. But it was every morning I get a lecture series of like, we're in the car together. He's looking at his phone, never talks, or sometimes would talk. But like, there are days where it was just like, all right, you're curious about this one thing. If he'd bring it up, it'd like, let's go down that rabbit hole, talk about it. And you get a half an hour of good dialogue, Platonic, Socratic sort of method, not even method, because that's, the law school.
I thought you were saying because it's
Paper
gay.
No.
Methods are gay.
No, the mentor-mentee discussion and inquiry style. And that was great. So, he's a solid kid. He got it. I spend time with my daughter. She's now riding with him to school, so I don't have it with her anymore either. But like, we're more into the same things like TikTok and anime and, geeky shit. So like, we identify with a lot of our hobbies directly, and it's easy to talk to her about it. The younger ones, it's just all brain rot. Like, I blocked YouTube on every device in the house except for like ones in my like personal space.
People don't understand how much stuff is on YouTube, and that if you let children navigate you through YouTube, you will discover things that
there are tendrils that are reaching for them that are depravity and not good.
Well, and they're sinister maybe in that way, but they're also just not providing anything valuable to them in their developing brain.
That's sinister enough.
But they are stimulating kind of the things that their brains are looking for. So there's just horrifying, grotesque, really weird, random and unfocused animated stuff that will be named something that is not even a word, and you're like, what is that? And then you click on it and it's got 70 million views because children are just frying their brains unsupervised in front of stuff like this all day.
It's like the aesthetics of insanity. Like it's if you listen to a Donald Trump speech,
it's like
in a cartoon for a 5-year-old.
It's what we thought they were showing people in Guantanamo Bay, but instead they were showing them. What are they showing them?
I mean, I've been through generations of it. I could tell you specifics as to what they're showing them. And it's not like it's overtly nefarious. It's just that call it cultural impact it has on the children, in that it wires their brains to expect a certain amount of turnaround time between the next thought, which really does destroy their ability to like do something remotely useful. Yeah. And they're just, you can see that it's like short wiring the brains of our children in some ways, and it does it to us. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I'm sure you've doom scrolled a few times. It's you can just go into a total cycle of nonsense with it.
It's really bad. And sometimes if I find something gross that I kind of enjoy in a sinister way, like some kind of a fight or something violent on Instagram that's really not supposed to be on there, but they make the caption all about here's that information about that Tesla Model S you were asking about, but it's actually like a child beating the shit out of another child in a bus. You know what I mean? Or it'll be somebody in Vietnam getting shredded in half by a car that just for no reason.
Yeah, like the CCTV clip.
The CCTV stuff happening in Southeast Asia right now is not okay. We need an embargo on CCTV footage coming out of all of Southern Asia, because it's just gruesome what they let them email to us.
So my TikTok feed is 3 things. It's cat videos.
Yeah.
It's world military current events, usually centered around Ukraine and Russia, but with some Israel stuff. And then some just military bloggers talking about cool weapons. Like, that gets in there and I'll watch it. And history. Like ancient history in particular, but medieval to ancient history stuff, because that's apparently what I've trained the algorithm to think I should be watching. And it takes hours of my life every week with those things alone.
I have fucked up in that I left my YouTube logged in on the TV that my stepdad watches at my mom's house.
Oh, no.
So now if I let my YouTube go on autoplay, I'll get like a clip from a podcast. I'll get like maybe a live performance from a music festival, and then I'll get a 4-hour documentary about Hitler's favorite tanks.
That's on my feed.
Oh my God. Can I ask you, I don't want to accuse you of speaking for anybody other than yourself. So I'm just going to ask you, what What keeps you plugged into the war in the Ukraine?
Well, I had taken a long break from it, like paying close attention because it was so. Thank you.
Oh, I see the problem.
It's not. Is there a pin missing or a tightening that needs to happen? So when the Russians started winning again, it's like politics. When the Russians started winning again, I stopped paying attention because it was just depressing. But they really stabilized quickly. Every once in a while, there's a video of something that happened. But what's recently happened is the Ukrainians have invaded Russia now. So do we need to move it down? Yeah. So the Ukrainians have invaded Russia now in the last 4 days and have held territory in the Kursk region, and the Russians can't get rid of them. So it's suddenly gotten interesting again. But it's the Israel thing has been very hard to watch. So I try not to bog down in what is effectively the slaughter of innocents.
So I think that's part of the thing too. It's kind of amazing to me that anything is even still happening in Israel, because you would think the way things have been going that there wouldn't be anything left.
There's still millions of people trapped in an increasingly small slice of Gaza.
That's what I'm saying. It's got to be so small. With the
is.
decimation you can just witness on accident on Instagram every morning, because of the time difference. You wake up and Instagram will refresh and you have brand new war trauma footage to witness. And you would think, how is there still that much left to destroy? Because it's been so crazy there for months. It'll be a year that it's just been gloves off over there.
So you do have millions of people literally living there, and people are industrious. So don't underestimate people's ability to rebuild quickly and to make, a war.
That's true too.
That's
August.
a lot of what's going on.
The worst of this really began in October.
Yeah.
So, you could build a lot of shit in 10 months.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, if you have millions of people that are trapped there with nothing else to do but rebuild,
Yeah, they
try
need
to
something
live,
to hide
it's
in.
what you do with your day, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that or work in a hospital or work in food relief. There's not a lot of jobs going around in Gaza right now. Though I suppose there's probably a lot of people doing things on the internet to try to bring currency in so they have resources. But getting anything in and out of there is, subject to Israeli embargo. So good luck. I wouldn't know how to do it.
And so what's the latest with the crisis in Ukraine then? What possible solutions are on the table?
No, there's no solution on the table. I mean, the Russians aren't going home. They have shown no inclination to do that. They've got an endless meat grinder to throw at the Ukrainians. What's happened in the last week is the most interesting thing that's happened from a just change standpoint in many months, because it's been effectively a moving stalemate. The Ukrainians losing a little bit of territory, but increasingly hitting deeper inside of Russia. But now Ukraine has invaded Russia and is holding territory, at least for 4 days, which is demonstrating a Russian weakness. I don't think it'll change anything, but I don't want to even hold myself out as someone who's truly knowledgeable.
No, it's just you're so much more read up on it than me.
That's why I try to follow when things are developing to just know what's going on. But obviously the election is the big thing now. And yeah, there's politics on that feed as well. I think probably everybody's got that.
Yeah, it's endless. So let me start with this, because I've kind of saved some of these related issues to talk to you about, just because these are the kind of things I like your perspective on. Not because you're an expert. But the first thing being thrusting Kamala in as the nominee without an election process.
It's Kamala.
What did I say?
Kamala.
Okay, so Kamala is the nominee, and there wasn't really any kind of an election to appoint her there. And though the situation makes sense as to why they insist that she's the nominee, but
so I have some expertise in this.
Please.
Legally speaking. So the Democratic Party, first and foremost, is a private organization, right? Like, the fact that the DNC and the RNC are effectively hardwired into state election law, which is true in many states, if not most, there is nothing that is sacrosanct about them as a party in most places. They just have one of the two seats. There are always two seats, and it's these guys and those guys. So if the Republicans fall apart, that seat's not going to be, vacant for very long. Some party will take the mantle of old Republicanism and will move on. So when the Democratic National Committee, the party apparatus had the primaries, there was a ticket that was being voted for, and it was Biden-Harris. Right. So there were primaries. I don't know, 14 million people or something voted in them because why bother? I don't think I even showed up. There was nothing on the Webster Groves agenda or St. Louis County agenda that day, that election day. So I ignored it because it was a fait accompli that Biden would be the nominee. But truthfully, Harris was on the ticket. So there were votes cast for Harris as a successor to Joe Biden.
Which is why she has access to the campaign funds that they raised while Biden was, which is a huge part of why I understand the DNC would want her as the nominee, even if they're not her favorite.
It was mechanically, by far, the easiest under DNC bylaws, under whatever policies they have.
So the argument there is that she was voted for
Yes.
because she was always going to be president eventually.
Well, she was going to be elected into an office on the Democratic ticket. Again, she is the vice president of the United States. If Biden stepped down today, she was voted in back in 2020.
She was always going to take that role. She may still before the election.
So the suggestion from...
Which I'm not wishing for. I'm just saying we have to address possibilities.
The objection from the bomb throwers here is this is undemocratic because no one elected or nobody voted for her. It's like, well, it's actually factually incorrect. But it's immaterial because it is a Democratic nominee. No one is being put in office who wasn't elected and not through due process. It's just a spurious argument because ultimately, think of the Democratic Party as a corporation. If Coca-Cola tells you your new CEO of Coke is X, are you going to say that as a shareholder, I didn't get to vote for this? No, because the board votes for it. That's how the Coca-Cola works. The Democratic Party is exactly the same way. So there are
So that should put people at ease about that issue in that regard.
It's absolutely legal.
Yeah.
There is nothing untoward.
There's just a lot of people still talking about that.
There was no legal gymnastics even involved. It was just Biden saying, I'm out, and the system slid the next person into spot, and that's what happened.
So people that are saying that was him pushing back against the DNC for forcing him out by putting his thing behind Kamala, that was always going to happen.
It was always going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, and at the point in the election where we're at, like the mechanics are very important to unify the party immediately, not have a protracted back and forth between a potential challenger, go into the convention with a clean slate, united party, good feeling behind it, momentum. That's exactly what they did. It worked very, very well.
So what should they be worried about now with the ticket they have?
Winning the election, getting people out to vote. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Now, do you believe anything that a hardcore MAGA, pundit is going on the air and telling you about literally anything on the planet? Like the words that are coming out of his mouth.
Oh, have you been, I wish I could find this. I should have pulled it. There's a TikTok I saw, a guy just doing man on the street interviewing people outside of
Was it
MAGA
Klepper?
rally. I think probably.
He's so awesome.
And he is not passing any judgment. He's not instigating anything at all. He's just
asking questions.
He's just letting these people talk. And the question is not super loaded. The question is something like, do you think Kamala Harris would be a successful president? And they go on and on about how she's not from here. She's something about the paperwork with her birth certificate.
Oh yeah, they're trying
doing
the
that
Obama
again.
back again.
I
It's not
mean,
gonna
which
work.
Trump was a huge instigator of, even though he wasn't a candidate at the time.
He was behind it pretty
Yeah.
much. He was the one publicizing that. If not, he might have come up with it in a rambling, which is.
And so when people say that it's not that offensive for Trump to say what he said about Kamala's ethnicity,
Oh my God.
being that she was always Indian and then she decided to be black all of a sudden.
It's factually incorrect.
Well, it's totally factually incorrect. But if you think it's not that offensive, you should go talk to these people that heard him say that and are now propagating that to other people. Anyone that will hold a microphone in their face, they will tell you Kamala Harris is from somewhere else.
Well,
because
I mean, so J.D. Vance is also married to an Indian woman, and they have children
Right.
who are half white and half Indian.
And he said, even though my wife is not white, she's still a good mother.
I mean, that's great.
Yeah.
She's also a high-powered lawyer at some California big law firm. She clerked for, I forget, Kavanaugh, I think. She's no, I don't know what she portrayed herself as before, but they're not salt of the earth people.
What's his
okay?
deal? He's a intelligence guy? Or tech guy?
He was a journalist in the Marines back before he wrote Hillbilly Elegy. So that was his big breakthrough moment when he wrote this book that was about his, rural Appalachian upbringing in rural Ohio, where he's supposedly from, and how he's salt of the earth. But he went to Yale out of hard work, bootstrapped himself into being.
How do you bootstrap yourself in the Yale?
I mean, everything about, not everything about, but many of the details of his autobiographical work of fiction were exactly that. Were not really true or spot on, and he certainly shaded, himself as this rural, white or blue collar, poor Appalachian boy that worked his way up. And, I think he was probably middle class, maybe lower middle class, but not no running water.
I just don't even know how it's possible for him to get into Yale.
I mean, I don't know how it's possible for anyone to get into Yale, but my buddy Lucas Kuntz did it.
Lucas Kuntz.
He was a Yale undergrad.
Any relation to Dean?
I don't think so. I think their name is spelled differently.
Different.
And Lucas is from Central Missouri,
so unlikely.
It is almost certainly not the case.
And so, what do you make of the VP pick, Tim Waltz?
How do you not love the guy?
I like him a lot, but I feel like I'm being told I'm supposed to. But I don't have any reason not to. It just seems like he came out of nowhere, and I love him.
Yeah, what's your gut tell you? That's the thing. That's why this campaign is doing well. Because if you look at him, it's like they're kind of fun. Like it's like I enjoy watching him.
Well, and I like them as a team too. They cover a lot of bases,
and they clearly like each other. Beyond that,
it seems that doesn't seem unnatural. Thank you so much.
That's concierge service right there. Dear Lord,
I did have to ask, but yeah, but Doorstop is your one-stop shop. And not a sponsor. But that's kind of the thing is my favorite. Did you see the clip of him? The Daily Show has been pulling his social media, and there was a clip of him, like, he had a part of, like, his headlight out. And he was talking to...
I saw this clip on TikTok, not on Daily
where
Show.
Where he's talking about, this is unacceptable, because the component is flimsy that he pulled out of his own car.
He's every Gen Xer's boomer dad who didn't go to Fox News. And, it's the best line I heard about it was that he's going to be, if he's elected vice president, he's going to be on a Saturday morning in front of the White House mowing the lawn in jeans.
Yeah. Yeah, with white New Balance, fresh white New Balance. That's how he's going to treat himself. He's like, look, I'm the vice president. I get fresh newbies.
It's going to be a golf course because Tim Waltz is going to be out there twice a week. He'll be down and picking things out of.
It'll be beautiful.
It will. And because he's that kind of, he just gives off that vibe.
If he gets assassinated, it's by the groundskeeping staff at the White House for making them look bad.
I think they'd let him do it. His thing.
Yeah.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
They would just support.
I think they would just be like, just look at him go.
Look at him go. Are you going to interrupt this? I mean, when you see somebody doing what they're born to do, which is craft an immaculate lawn.
He was a high school wrestling coach. Like, legitimately, that was his thing that he was doing for a while. He was in the military for 25 years.
24 years in the National Guard.
Sergeant Major. Like, that's like, I'm not a military guy, but
that ain't nothing, kids. You can't just get that online.
No. And that's the guy when your officers, I'm told, come in and think they're arrogant, who explains gently to them how things work out of West Point. And, this is what we're going to do instead. Or it's more like probably yes, sir, but then things just happen correctly. But it's somebody like that is it's like a Boy Scout. He's like a lifelong Boy Scout. Now he's like America's almost grandpa.
Why is Pete Buttigieg in my newsfeed all the time lately?
Because he's smart and articulate and very good at remaining calm in the face of insane people.
Was he trying to be VP?
He was trying to be president. I'm sure he was vetted for VP. I mean, the demographics unfortunately just ruled him out.
Yeah.
There's a meme happening with Pete Buttigieg that I just kind of saw in passing today. That's probably why he's trending.
That's new to me. I'm behind on my TikTok.
Yeah, but he's been doing the rounds lately. More of he's been doing interviews and stuff. And it was in the VP maybe era.
Did you see him on Stewart on Monday? Yeah, he's great.
And but I was just curious about. I don't know what he's up to. Is he in a position right now?
Yeah, he's Secretary of Interior or something. Now I'm really embarrassing myself.
Or was it Transportation?
Transportation, that's right.
He's still doing that.
I believe so. If he's not still doing it, he is doing the media arm of the Department of the Biden administration. Yeah. I mean, that's really what he is at this point.
And so, okay. Can we just talk about Trump's press conference yesterday, and just whatever's fresh for you. We don't have to go over the entire thing, but I mean, the part I saw, it seemed like he was kind of just announcing debate locations and dates in a way that seemed like there's no way other people know about these.
I'm pretty sure he flipped the date of the ABC and the NBC debates in that. And to be clear, the Fox and NBC debates are debates that he has unilaterally set up with these networks, and Kamala was not consulted, nor has she agreed to do that.
Yeah.
The agreed upon debate was the September 10th debate on ABC, which he has been trying to get out of because there's no audience and there's live fact checking. Those are the things that he wants. He wants a crowd
wants an audience.
to throw bottles at Kamala and to be able to just lie and spread whatever terrible diarrhea is going to come out of his mouth for an hour and have nobody tell him that he's done anything other than be great.
And so it just seems so obvious when in the middle of the press conference, I was like, oh, he's just saying that so that everyone else looks like the bad guy when they say, we never agreed to that. We're not doing that.
Oh, of course, that's what it was.
Yeah. So
because he's been dodging the one that he agreed to for like 2 weeks since she started. He's like, I never agreed to debate.
How unhinged did it get, though?
I mean, so the thing that sticks out to me, that as I think about, if you like, what was your one takeaway from this, is the number of times that he just insulted Kamala and Tim Walz to a degree, but he was more. I mean, he's a white guy, he's okay, but just the clearly misogynistic and at times racist, in a subtle way. He's not out there shouting the N-word just yet. I'm not saying it won't ever happen, but the way that he said she's not smart so many times when she is clearly like 50 times smarter than he will ever be in his best days, which he is not in. Like she is a prosecutor. She has as good a resume of anyone for the presidency as anyone has ever had. Senator, AG, been a prosecutor for many years, vice president of the United States. Somehow this woman is not qualified to be president. And, if you watch her when she's not laughing and you think she's unserious, you're just not seeing reality. She's a serious person. And he's very intimidated by her, as he should be. She could dog walk him.
Well, and his old age is much more stark. When
he's gone downhill for sure.
Well, but also he's not being held in contrast to Biden. He seemed totally fine, just like an asshole next to Biden.
Yeah, like 6 months ago or like 3 months ago. Like
even less. I'm saying 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks ago, I would have told you Trump is so much more cognitively functional than Biden. Now with Biden out of the picture, and we're looking at Walz and Harris and Trump now all together, it's like, oh.
See, I think the opposite is exactly what's true. I think Biden, tragically, is still quite cognitive. He's just lost use of his speaking facilities and his physical facilities in a way, that his age is responsible for.
So you think he's trapped in there?
I think Biden is trapped in there. I don't think Biden is incapable of making good decisions. I think he's old. I mean, he's in his 80s, and he's clearly showing signs of age. But it's the tragedy of it is it's the physical corpus that's deteriorating. I don't see that his mind is fundamentally gone. He's not as sharp as he was. He makes mistakes in talking.
That's true. He's not like making decisions that he wouldn't otherwise make.
You just got to work him like a marionette.
I mean,
that's it.
He has to be pushed on stage because I think he's old as shit and probably sleeps a lot during the day when he just to stay in it. And that's why I think it's a tragedy. But Trump was always kind of an idiot. So, like, the fact that he's now a bumbling idiot is really not that big of a departure from where Trump has always been. He has maintained more physical control of himself through his age than Biden has. So he looks stronger, relatively speaking. And he, to a certain type of personality, that's the body language is the only thing they care about at some level. They're like, who's the strong one? Who's the guy that could beat the other guy up? I mean, Biden would go down like a rag doll, right? Like Trump, as old as he is and unfit as he is, would just take him down.
Yeah, he's got a lower center of gravity.
it's just Trump is like twice the weight of Biden.
Yeah, easily.
Just like he'll just bear crush him. You don't even have to be skilled at all.
Yeah, that's the thing. He could just throw himself at him.
Yeah,
and Biden's dead when they hit the floor.
100%.
Maybe Trump cracks a hip, and that's if he's not strategic about it at all.
Yeah, I mean, the movement might really seriously long-term injure Trump just from doing the activity, but it wouldn't be
The idea of
Biden
putting
did.
that pressure on his swollen liver makes me nervous.
He's never had a drink in his life, according to him. Never once.
Yeah, but your liver doesn't know the difference between a Jack and Coke and a McDouble.
I think that's not true.
If you're having 9 McDoubles,
I mean, maybe if you're having 9 McDoubles, if that's really like
the amount of high fructose corn syrup in that thing, girl, stop.
I mean, I'll confess to having 2 Jumbo Jacks yesterday. That's
Oh God, they're good.
I had done forever.
Cheese or no cheese?
Cheese, just a straight up. It was like 2 for $5. Like I'll do it an for
Oh,
Jack.
any day. Though.
It
I
would-
may go right
absolutely.
now. Shout out to the Jack in the Box on Bates. It's the most salvageable one in South City.
I can't. The one on Kings Highway was always my home one.
Kings
when I lived
Highway
the
in
city.
Chippewa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the time I go there, it looks like they either just got robbed or they're about to be robbed.
This was literally 20 years ago too. So
Yeah,
like,
it's still open.
it's more than you can say for a lot of
Not
them.
the
one at
Kings Highway in
Hampton's gone.
Chippewa.
Kings
Is it
Highway in
gone?
Chippewa's still open.
What? Are you sure? The one that's over by the Cajun place,
Yeah.
like across
Yeah.
the street.
The one that closed is Hampton, north of 44. That one's just bricked up.
I gotcha.
I still know that Taco Bell's the best Taco Bell in the city of St. Louis.
That's a good one. But they opened a new one that's great at Kings Highway and Gravelway.
No,
You remember there was a bank on that corner?
Yeah, totally.
And it was closed forever.
I lived right there.
That's a
I
Taco
lived in
Bell.
South City,
It's
very
brand
close
new.
to it. That's
And
good, isn't it?
catty corner from the Alicia's, which is now closed.
Yeah, they just reopened it. It's like South City Pizza or something. Like it's the same style of pizza but under new ownership.
Oh, yeah, because they closed all the Alicia's.
Yeah, it's the one on Gravelway. It's Gravelway there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I just saw a thing. They opened it like today.
But so there's still the Taco Bell on South Kings Highway, like north of Chippewa. But now there's one at the corner of Kings Highway at the very end at Gravois. And my buddy Didi from No Antics lives right around the corner, and he's been fucking it up. And they're real nice there because I think they get hit real hard for the delivery. I think it's mostly a delivery annex because South Kings Highway was getting hit so hard with DoorDash, they would get upset. And because the sign on the Taco Bell says Taco Bell delivery. At first, I thought maybe it was
I
just
think that's
a
on all the Taco Bells, though, isn't it?
Well, it used to be Taco Bell breakfast, and some of them still say that if they haven't updated that because it's a hard infrastructure.
I feel like the Maplewood one is a Taco Bell delivery.
good. That's a good one.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
I hit it on the way home from class
Yeah.
sometimes.
And what do you get?
It depends. I actually got the last couple times when they had the secret aardvark nacho fries. That was like bacon double cheeseburger burrito level, like 1995, like all-time gem from Taco Bell. Like it's not quite.
What
there,
were
but
they
it's on the
called?
list. It was the secret aardvark nacho fries.
What is a secret aardvark?
It's a sauce. It's a type of hot sauce. It was like a collab with the secret aardvark brand.
Oh, okay.
But yesterday or the day
I thought it
before
was like a
yesterday-
rapper. I thought it was like Cardi B's iced latte. Try the secret aardvark. I'm like, how out of touch?
I mean, people who know their hot sauce. I had heard of secret aardvark hot sauce.
I would.
for what it's worth.
Speaking of which, I would love to do a menu item with anybody with a drive-through. Just let me know.
So anyway, they have a jalapeno nacho fry that I strongly recommend.
They closed Fort Taco.
Yeah, a long time ago.
I know, but I just noticed.
My 16-year-old was devastated.
I know, that's
He
a hard
It was
one.
his favorite restaurant.
That's a good one.
We went there a lot. It's when they closed the bridge. It killed it.
Oh, that's
It was
what.
the construction. They couldn't get through there. You had
Yeah.
to go all the way around past the Arby's to and past the Popeyes,
That's crazy.
which I would drove past the Popeyes every day for Fort Taco.
But now you have to go to Popeyes.
I mean, I don't go to Popeyes.
It's
It's fine. I got food poisoning at that Popeyes. So,
Yeah.
no.
I have braved the Popeyes at Lucas and Hunt and Jennings Station. Usually, seriously,
That's a Saturday Night Live skit.
brother. The one time they said, "Okay, can you pull around?" And she brought out my food. She was wearing like pajamas,
Hilarious.
and they're usually out of almost everything. And you kind of just got to ask them, "What are you making right now?"
What
I'll have a large man's portion of whatever you're making, whatever you will agree to sell me. You tell me if it's tenders. I don't give a fuck. Whatever it is, I need hot food to take back to work in the next 20 minutes.
I can confess to have not been up there to that particular.
You should never. I didn't know it was there until I worked up there. I mean, there's a Taco Bell up there that's great though on Florissant, West Florissant, maybe.
That's a street up there.
So your liver does not care if it's Big Macs,
doubles.
quarter pounders, whatever you want to call it. But
So Trump legally, is there any merit to the thing I heard that he mostly wants to run for president so he can stay out of jail?
I mean, it's not the only reason he wants to be president, but it's the imperative to be president. It's
the reason to stick with it.
He's gone this far. He has, for 4 years, beat the drum of how he didn't lose and how it was election fraud against him and how it's a sham. And my favorite lie, because it's just so wrong in every way, is how he talks about he won the case in Florida when the judge dismissed, without prejudice, with prejudice, I'm not sure, but dismissed the claims, which is subject to appeal and clearly legally incorrect. It's like you won the case because the judge was a stooge for you. And this is, she was the worst. She is the worst. She should be impeached. Actually a bad judge. The most charitable interpretation that you can give based on the criticisms of the people who work at the very conservative court that have spoken out against her, other judges, senior judges, is that she's wholly incompetent and should never have allowed herself to take the case, should never have kept the case. One of the appellate court judges begged her essentially in writing to transfer the case to somebody else who could handle it, and she refused to do that. So the most charitable interpretation is she is a green judge, true, that had no business being on that case, and in good faith has no idea what she's doing. Again, I ask, do you believe good faith is a part of the equation in anything Trump has ever been involved in?
If he wins, are all of his legal troubles over?
If he wins, no one knows what happens. The law is effectively meaningless.
And he's banking on that.
I think so.
Is that why he's not in jail currently?
He's not in jail currently because people are spineless, because Merrick Garland sat on his thumbs, because there is a concerted and
I'm still mad about
effort.
Merrick Garland getting the shaft.
I mean, he was a compromise nominee in the first place. And say what you will about the Supreme Court. I mean, it's stolen. Mitch McConnell did it. It wouldn't have mattered. At the end of the day, they'd still have a majority even without that happening. But it's set a precedent that there is no boundary that they won't cross legally if they think they can do it. And he is, the Supreme Court effectively gave the president immunity. It's absolutely aconstitutional.
How airtight is that? Does that ruling last a long time?
They gave themselves so much discretion to determine what things were official acts that what it is it's a shield for a president they like and a minefield for a president they don't. And it is the worst kind of aconstitutional, non-legal ruling, which is to say we decide who gets to do what and who has the power to do what. They effectively effected a legal coup, through the legal means is what I mean. There's nothing, it's legalistic, but there's nothing principled about their application of constitutional doctrine in that regard. It was an absolute sham of a ruling. It's an incredibly dangerous place to go where we effectively have, at least as long as the council of 5 or 6 is kept happy and you're doing what they want, effectively you're above the law. You are an outlaw in the good sense and not.
But if you upset them, it's the opposite.
Exactly.
You're an easy target.
Which is why it's a coup, because they usurped
They're
power.
hijacking the office.
That's exactly. They hijacked a branch of government. They hijacked both of them. And they've been doing this slowly for a long time, but this is what Thomas's project has been all along. It wasn't to make the law in the way that he substantively saw it, because his vision of constitutional law is tortured at best. He's not the strongest mind who has been a jurist, in our lifetime, let alone across generations. But he had a principled stance of being a nihilist when it came to following what precedents he wanted to and deciding what the law should mean when he didn't.
What, just in any amount of time, what would it take to correct some of that damage that's been done or correct that exact issue?
They need to appoint more people to the court, which Congress can do with presidential
Increase the
authority.
size of the court?
That's exactly right.
And Congress can do it with what?
And with presidential authority or approval or 2/3 majority, which they won't
And
get.
that'll help dissolve and prevent some of this hijacking.
Will dilute the conservative. Don't even want to call it conservative. It's not quite fascist, but it's the nihilistic wing of the court who has decided power is the only thing they care about. It would dilute the nihilists to a minority. Let's say you appointed 4 justices tomorrow, right? You said, I'm gonna, if we had a Democratic Congress who would approve this, I've got a Democratic Senate and Democratic President. 4 seats just opened up. Here are our 4 candidates. We're gonna ram those suckers through before the election, no matter what happens. We now have a 7-6 majority on the court, and let's revisit all those things we just talked about when you guys overturned 50 years and hundreds of years in some cases of settled law. Let's go back and revisit the now settled law from 2 years ago and see how that works out for us. Well, guess what? We're going to go back. That's how you do it. It's the only way we can do it. We have to win Congress, we have to keep the Senate, and we have to have a president to do it. So you have to get enough of a coalition with control of the other 2 branches to say, no, Supreme Court, it's time. We're also going to try to implement term limits and do all those things, but those are arguably things that you have to amend the Constitution to. So that's a long-term project if we ever see it.
And it would take some aggressive use of authority, which is also an assumption.
An unprecedented...
But it's also an unprecedented problem.
A Tim Walz-style management of government with a slim legislative majority that was willing to follow that lead. And when I say Tim Walz style, I mean that's exactly what he's done in Minnesota over the last few years as governor. They have like a 1-seat lead in the Minnesota legislature. They barely were able to get Democratic control of the legislature. And with that, they've fed kids, they've protected reproductive rights, they've protected union rights, they've helped workers, they've fixed wages, they've done a bunch of other things. So things people really like. He was reelected. He's a popular governor. Minnesotans like him enough that really very few people are very strongly against him because the opposition is interests in Minnesota.
He also signed the renaming of a highway after Prince.
I mean, he is from Minnesota. But he's the kind of guy that would do that, right? Like you can see that. It's in character.
Yeah. And
so you get a federal government with the will to do those things, which the Republicans have shown no compunction to utilize. They've been in power by the barest of majorities, by technical majorities. And they're like, you know what?
And
women can't vote
that
anymore. Black people can't go to school with white people.
Trump's never won the popular vote, and it doesn't seem to bother him.
No, it's never bothered them. They wield power. It's their skill. It's when they
I get
it.
flashbacks to that famous photo of the guy counting votes in 2001 or 2000.
Oh, you mean the
hanging Chad guy?
And the Brooks Brothers riot. I mean, they literally did a January 6th
My
to Al
frustration
Gore.
with that was, why are we okay with an election being decided by a state that we don't even live in?
Well, our system is fundamentally flawed, to say the least.
But that was like when people my age kind of first started to grapple with this idea of the Electoral College, and that a lot of people in power are banking on just convincing the people they need to convince. And they don't care about the places that they don't necessarily stand a chance in politically because they don't even need them.
So to go back to one of your original questions, what do they do from here is to get the vote out, because you expand the pool of people that you have to convince, and none of them are convinced by Trump.
Yeah.
No one outside of the MAGA circle right now is looking at that guy and saying, you are just apex president material right now. This is what I want for leadership. You know, if you're saying that, you're in the cult. If you have a brain and use reason and logic, no one says that. They're like, okay, well, he's the best vehicle we've got. You know, I really am either terrified of the liberals, or I'm in the party and I want power and I will do whatever I can do to get it. There's a lot of that. And my career is based on this. My opportunity for advance is based on this. The talking heads, for sure. So, you know, outside of that circle, if you can just get 10% of the non-voting population to show up and vote, you don't even have to get to select what that 10% is. You're going to win that election, because he's not going to take more votes out of that population no matter what. He's not winning anyone over. It's just suppression. It's why they do what they do. It's they want to ensure that they keep the voting populace as limited as they can to basically try to make people feel bad about politics, to think that there's both sides of the same, there's no point, my vote doesn't count. That has been their strategy for decades, is to make you not want to do it because you're in such despair about what a mess the system is. When the system starts working like it has been, at least in some ways in Minnesota, and people are happy about what government can do when it's utilized correctly, that is earth-shaking to the people in power, particularly in Republican circles, who count on portraying government as impossible to work. And to turn the population against the functionaries in government and each other, so they can ignore the fact that we've just collected 80% of the world's wealth, and there's 10 of us. It's bigger. It's a bigger group than that, but that is the game. It's
also a bigger percentage of the world's wealth.
10 of us probably have more than 80%. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really bad.
The charts are off the human scale.
And that's the thing, is Trump and Biden both got more votes than any previous president in history. Biden just got a little more than Trump. And so if either side thinks they can sit it out, it's probably not the case, because it's got to be kind of historical numbers. I mean, regardless.
Yeah. There a lot of Republicans are going to show up to vote. They're going to, even if they really dislike Trump, they'll just vote because they've been voting against Democrats for so long. And, candidly, I am not a strong Democrat. Like, I'm not like, oh yeah, the Democrats are awesome, I love them, that's my team. It's the, oh my God, the Republicans. I have to vote against them. And it's always been a chess move, not a Valentine, that the only party that's going to have a chance to stop Donald Trump from being a dictator in 6 months is the Democratic nominee. It's the only choice there is. The system is at fault for this. It's terrible. No one's saying it's a great idea except for the people who benefit from it. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
And you're throwing your vote away to vote for anyone else. It's just a fact. And in Missouri, our vote almost doesn't count, but it can count for local races.
Can we talk locally for a minute?
Absolutely. How local you want to start?
Well, did we just lose Cori Bush?
Yeah. She is no longer going to be a congresswoman. She didn't last long enough to get her pension.
Fuck. What do you attribute that to?
She was a terrible candidate. She was not a good congressperson by substance. Look.
I was worried about that.
I can agree with a lot of her policies and disagree with a lot of her policies.
But also, those are just the ones that we agree with that she was given.
Well, that's the party platform.
Yeah.
The ones I agree with are pretty much the party platform. The wacky faith healing shit, like, come on. Like what are you doing? And not being able to call Hamas a terrorist organization was an opening, okay? Like, it was what happened there. And we've all heard about AIPAC. And this AIPAC bought this election, and, the Wesley Bell was an AIPAC shell, right? Like, you've seen the ads. It was a thing. And AIPAC definitely saw what she did and capitalized on it. There's no question that they wanted her out at that point, just like they did Jamal Bowman. And it's their stated policy, right? Like, they're the American Israeli whatever council. And it's you expect AIPAC to AIPAC. It's somebody that's actively targeting Israel.
Yeah, you just can't get hit by that. You can't spend a lot of time being upset when they follow the agenda you can expect from them.
She also is a terrible candidate as a congressperson who never showed up. That's legitimately true. Her husband was her security guard that was on the dole it was typical St. Louis bullshit, right? like, oh, I'm gonna have all my friends and my family, and I'm gonna chase every intern away because I'm insufferable and I'm a terrible person to be around. Like, she was just an all-around bad candidate. Like, I can agree with her. I can like that she unseated, who was it? I'm blanking on his name. The guy that was there forever, Lacey Clay.
That's where a lot of that love comes from, though, I think.
It was that she's the one that got Lacey out.
We just love that she's not Lacey.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, I legitimately wanted her to be better than she is.
But we have mutual friends that were going in hot for her still, and I'm just like, going into the election, like, we got to keep Cori. And I was just thinking the week before, seeing the sign and seeing her on TV and stuff, I'm just like, I'm kind of like,
But substantively, she was just not a good congressperson.
That's what I mean.
She was not a
That's
good
what I mean.
candidate. Like you could have some kind of loyalty to her. I don't fault people for being loyal to their people, right? Like I get it.
I have this problem with Tashara. I should probably be sick of Tashara, but knowing what I know about her likely competition, I can't necessarily go that way.
Well, see, I know her likely competition much better than you do, and I am a strong supporter of Kara. Honestly, no, it's. I think she'd be a better mayor.
Is that coming up?
Yeah, next spring, I believe.
Yeah.
So no, what has Tashara done with the city?
What's Kara serving as now?
She's an alderwoman.
Alder. Okay.
Yeah, she's been an alderwoman for some time.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know if she had gotten more into City Hall at all.
no, I mean she survived the purge, which is a pretty big step.
That's what I'm thinking of then.
Yeah, she was one of the 9 or 6. How many of them are left? I don't even know. But like it was like they slashed it.
That's
by
the
more
problem,
than half.
because if I read it upside down, I can't tell if it's a 9 or a 6.
I've had that problem my whole life.
Yeah. But who took Corey's spot?
Wesley Bell, who was
Wesley Bell did win it.
he did. So he's not a congressman yet because he has to win against the nominal Republican.
The Republican.
who will not win. It won't be close.
Do we know who that is?
Yeah, I mean, there's a determined winner of the Republican primary in the same night that nobody paid any attention to. I saw his name, immediately forgot it, because that's how
Nobody-
much attention
nobody
you should
we
pay.
know.
It's no one. No one of note in the Republican Party is running in that district. It's a packed district.
Do we have a bead on Eric Greitens? Is he still just foreboding?
I think so, man.
I think he's just
I
out
think
in
when he
Innsbruck.
lost in the last round to Schmidt for Senate, that was the end of his.
That's the thing. He
political
ran for
career.
Senate
Right.
after leaving the governorship in disgrace.
Yeah, I mean, and he would have been a uniquely beatable candidate in a Republican seat. He would have been a Todd Aiken or a, somebody terrible.
And they don't want that either.
Well, that was it. They voted for Schmidt, who is a brooding. I saw him at my daughter's soccer game right before he went to Washington because he's from Glendale, and I think his daughter must go to Mary Queen of Peace, and they were playing Mary Queen of Peace, and he was stalking off to the sidelines, talking to nobody. He's like 6'4" or something. He's a big dude.
Which guy?
Eric Schmidt, Senator Eric Schmidt,
Yeah.
who has been floated as AG of the United States in a Trump administration.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't want
No.
any Missouri politicians in the federal government.
John
We don't-
Ashcroft did that, and
I
we
would
all
eat-
remember how that went.
I don't want any Missouri politicians in the federal government, period. You could put that on record. It's 7 p.m. on Friday, August 9th. I don't want any Missouri politicians of any kind in federal politics. I just don't think it's good for the nation, knowing what I know about us. Alfred, you know the origin of the colloquial use of the term Hoosier in St. Louis?
I am not a St. Louis native.
So-
I discovered that when I first went to college, and I had a bunch of friends that were from here, and I came down and hung out, and everything was Hoosier, and there was a hoorah. I enjoyed it very much.
How would you describe the colloquial definition locally of the word Hoosier?
As a non-native?
Yeah.
This is my exact explanation. I feel like Afton is the beating heart of Hoosier world.
Yeah.
I believe it may be Montebello pizza that is actually the literal epicenter of the Hoosier universe.
This is so funny.
And it is a very specific flavor of urban, suburban, but inner suburb or urban, white hillbilly that probably had a Confederate flag hanging up in his garage back in 1995, and now probably doesn't, but has smoked since he was 14 years old, has a Firebird or a Thunderbird or a Camaro or something stupid and rear-wheeled and, two-doored, and is a lot of fun to hang out with.
So, yes, it refers to an urban caliber of like white trash.
Yeah.
Like
But
almost
it's a
like
specific flavor of
it's
it.
it's like rednecks in a lower suburb, right? Now, here's the thing. Historically, that comes from in the 1940s. There was a labor strike here in the greater St. Louis area.
And it was the Indianans coming in to be scabs.
It gets better. The Indianians started moving to St. Louis to take the jobs for lesser wages that the union workers were protesting, and that upset the union workers. Turns out my grandfather was born in Indiana in 1942, and it's so funny you said this. His family then soon moved to St. Louis to steal jobs
Did they live in Lime?
They lived in South St. Louis.
In the city.
Yeah.
Across the river from
This
Lime.
was the 1950s. We didn't really have much yet. And one of my grandparents' earliest dates was dinner at Montebello Pizzeria. My family are the original Hoosiers. The people that ruined this lovely Catholic hamlet. We used to be New Boston, they called us. We were going to be, I could have been a Wahlberg. But instead, a bunch of white trash people moved here, took all the jobs, and parked their cars on their lawns, and stole things from each other's dumpsters and fought about it in the street, and procreated to the place that now we have St. Charles County, because all the nice people had to run away.
St. Charles, I don't know. They lost the old ways out there. It's just hillbilly. It's not Hoosier. Like
I worry about this too, the flattening of culture that's happened. My grandparents' generation, and probably my parents' generation too, there's so much uniqueness in them from their experiences and the things they chose to spend their time on, whereas we have so much less of that as we progress in this society where we're all obsessed with the same people at the same time for the same amount of time.
Well, I feel like that what you just said is the opposite of where most people are. Because, granted, I'm a few years older than you, but I remember when we actually watched the same shows on Thursday night and at school. Everybody talked about watching the same
some
thing.
of the good things were like that, where like you guys had iconic central moments that everybody knew about.
The Cosby Show was a thing you talked about on Fridays at school.
Now everyone wants to talk about a show you've never heard of on a platform that you've never heard of.
Well, God forbid you're talking to another generation. And talk to the alphas, man. I mean, shit is disturbing, like how just unintelligible what it is that they like is. I look at my kids who are brain rot. We try to do our best with it, but like there is no commonality there. They have no idea what happened in anything, that is on TV. They don't watch the Olympics.
In the 1900s, Alfred?
They don't watch sports anymore, a lot of them. They might watch their niche sport if they play them, but my daughter plays a bunch of sports. She doesn't watch sports. They don't know what's going on. Do
you hear that, folks? Not even young women athletes are watching women's sports. It's not happening.
Actually, the WNBA, I watched more basketball this year than I've watched any other league ever.
That's because it's exciting.
It's exciting.
Because it's a geopolitical issue now.
Well, and it was just a good game.
What if Brittany Griner is our generation's Archduke Franz Ferdinand?
She's back on the court. I think that's the difference. Is the Archduke didn't get back in the saddle after his...
I say we go get him. I've been watching season 5 of Supernatural. You can bring anybody back if you pray hard enough.
I don't know that he'd be your first choice, honestly, if you really thought about it.
That was the thing. Wasn't he even not that cool of a dude?
I mean, he was an inbred Habsburg, right? Like, it's like, this is like the end of the line type of, like, they were all, if you look at the pictures of the kings of, the kings of, or the emperors of Austria, the Kaiser, the emperor of Russia, and the kings of England, they all look like the same guy, because they were cousins. Like, they were literally like from like one grandfather,
and then their parents were cousins.
Yeah, well, a lot of times they were
a
distant
lot of
cousins,
the times,
yes, and so they were less inbred than the old school Habsburgs with the jaw, back in the 1500s.
The underbite thing?
Yeah,
from Family Guy.
I mean, yeah, worst. I mean, it was legitimately like you see the paintings. And you got to think it's a painting. Like that guy got paid to put him in his best light.
That's the best what he light. Looks like. That is how that artist thought God would see his child.
This
in front
is
of
the
him.
emperor of the Habsburg lands.
This guy will fucking kill you if you fuck this portrait up, and that's what the best we get.
Yeah, this is the best I can do, and make it you. Like that is.
Shout out to all my wedding photographers that have had to do that. If you've had just a real hog slop of a shoot, and I actually did see something really cute. A couple was getting married on a farm, and I mean, like he trained the cow to do this. The cow, you see the cow walking up on the other side of a fence from where the wedding is happening in this field, and everyone's seated. And the priest is saying, if anyone has a reason why these two should not be, married or whatever, speak now or forever hold your peace. The cow literally screams at them, like goes like "Marr!" And she whips her head around. She's like, "Who the fuck is that?" And it was the cow, and then they all had a good laugh. One of my favorite books when I was a young man was Animal Farm.
Oh yeah, I wrote college papers on Animal Farm.
What wisdom is in there for us right now?
I mean, it's pretty basic. It always seemed to me a little on the nose. And I had this argument
I
with
think that's why I enjoyed it as a young person.
It's young adult literature.
It was easy to understand.
It really is. It's short. It's cognizable. The language isn't difficult, but it's interesting and has profundities in it.
Yeah.
I mean, the basic lesson is, that this is what happens when truth goes out the window. You can call that communist, you can call it fascist, you can call it whatever you want. But that's what we're dealing with. I mean, we're dealing with a resurgence of that. That in 1984, which I think is a love story, and it's a beautiful book, and it's tragic and terrible and prophetic. But there are people that looked at these things and are like, this is the model for how we're going to do it, because these are, Orwell saw where the wind was blowing in a lot of ways. And we talked about this. I mean, you don't have to have a crystal ball to sort of smart people who can see what's going on in the world, who can piece it together, can look like prophets because they said things that were common sense true when you knew enough to know all the pieces and how they fit together. And Orwell was one of those guys, for sure. Like, he's like, this could happen. I can see this. He had an insight into human nature, and that insight is people are easily led. People will believe what they want to believe. People will do a lot of bad things on that belief.
You know what I've been doing this whole time you were saying Orwell? I was thinking Orson Welles. I knew the difference, like, academically, but the picture in my head every time you said George Orwell was Orson Welles, who's a very different character.
He's a very different character. He was what was the name of the giant planet robot in the Transformers the movie in 1987 or whenever it was? That was like his last role.
That's probably for the best.
Planetron or some shit like that.
And not to be confused with Metatron, who was the angel that performed as the voice of God.
At least according to the movie Dogma.
And season 5 of Supernatural.
Where they probably got it from Dogma.
I was thinking that when I got to the end of the season. I'm like, this is actually not based on the Bible at all. This is based off Dogma. And the movie Dogma is actually...
It's Alan Rickman, baby. Like, that's a great role.
But that movie is probably my most profound connection to my Catholic faith.
Is George Carlin as a cardinal?
It wasn't that. It was really it was Alan Rickman's character. You know why it is? It's because at such a young age, I used to rewatch Die Hard over and over again.
Right.
And I knew that Alan Rickman was Hans Gruber, and then he's an angel, and I was supposed to be Catholic, but I got kicked out of St. Mary Magdalene down the street from here after kindergarten. You know this.
So you were baptized Catholic, but not confirmed?
No, well, that's the thing, because they tried to baptize me there, and I ran and hid, and I didn't let them baptize me, which upset.
That's why you were supposed to be Catholic.
Because my mom went to Catholic school her whole life.
So did she want you baptized?
Yeah, my brother got baptized that day. I was supposed to. It was scheduled.
You were just like...
It was scheduled. It was a private baptism. It was just for us and my family, and I threw a fit. I refused to do it.
Oh, my God, your poor mother.
And then I had to go to kindergarten there with a lady that thought I was a demon and told my mom that in 30 years of teaching, she had never met a stranger child. And my mom was like 28 at the time, at the oldest.
In fairness, that was probably true.
Also definitely 100% true. And I learned as an adult that this was only half-day kindergarten, that I couldn't hack it from 9 to noon.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, you were probably a hoot if she wasn't.
It was. We've talked about it a lot on the show, but it's a cornerstone of my autobiographical reflection that I do every day. I drive by it every day. It's around the corner from my house. It's not a school anymore.
Mary Magdalene?
St. Mary Magdalene, yeah.
Wait, where is it? What
used to be a Rally's across the street. But the
in
Rally's,
South City?
Yeah, right down Kings Highway.
On Kings Highway.
Yeah, just past Chippewa.
Yeah.
There's a big Catholic
the Rally's
church.
on Kings Highway, like kind of by Uncle Bill's.
You passed it, but yeah.
Yeah,
it would have been the only one.
Yeah.
And it was a nightmare. I really tortured that poor lady. I ended up mostly in the principal's office because I wanted to use the phone to call my aunts and uncles.
Yeah, you probably sucked. Like, have you in class with.
It would have been awful. And there's a lot behind
Especially
that.
if she was like a super conservative, like children need to be like.
But here's the thing. Culturally, I knew in the broad spectrum of my family, most of the stories from when they were young people was them involved in their Catholic education in some way. It was the center of my family's community before I came along, and everybody had started moving to the suburbs and whatnot.
Well, in the city, it was just what you did if you were Catholic.
Well, and I always resented not living around here because this was the community where mother grew up and where my grandparents lived, and I was supposed to be here, and then we had to move to the suburbs because I needed an option for school, and I always resented that.
So you kicked the family into Kirkwood,
Yeah.
because you got kicked out of kindergarten.
Yeah, if I could have,
St. Mary
if I had
Magdalene.
gone to St. Mary Magdalene and loved it and really loved my teacher, like I experienced once I moved to Kirkwood, if I had really just treated it like that and behaved that way, like I ended up doing later, it would have been great. And I probably would have gone to SLU High, and my grandparents probably would have paid for it. I probably would have gone to the seminary.
You probably would have loved every minute of it. Like, I bet you would have
That's
really
what I'm saying.
liked,
But we
like-
talk about it all the time, though, that knowing everything about me, judging on the climate, if I had been tempted into any sort of nefarious behavior, I would feel terrible if I got kicked out for like blowing a dude or something. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that would be.
It would be not. That would not be a good reason to be kicked out.
Do you think
of
they
high
kick you
school.
out?
I don't think so, man. I think they just have you go to confession. I think they would be like, you
They'd
need
pray-
to-
I'd pray
They
to-
might send you to a camp for that. Like back then, particularly, they would have sent you to a camp.
Yeah.
But like, you know,
I probably would have responded.
you would have
well to
been.
that.
That is the thing about that community is like if you're ready to toe the line, they have to forgive you.
Yeah.
It's kind of what they.
It's like,
do.
listen, if you're still down with all this shit, bro, I mean, we can wipe the slate clean. You just got to straighten up.
I mean, I say that I'm not Catholic, but I do attend church and belong. I'm a member at a parish, and it's kind of part of the gig. Like you can't turn people away if you're doing it right.
Yeah, you got to find space for them. I have known people. There's a psychotic person I've done a lot of work for that I've had to block now.
I mean,
That has been kicked out of some churches. Like he'll start going to a church.
there is a point where it's like you can't worship here anymore. We still
Yeah.
love you and Jesus loves you, but
Yeah,
you're gonna need another place to go.
Yeah, they gave him his money from the offering back one time.
Yeah, he must have been. I mean, there's crazy people, right? Like,
Yeah, this is who we're talking about.
yeah, it's tragic because the churches are one of the few places they can go, and then they, through mental illness or whatever, they burn that bridge. And
Yeah.
they have to go to another one, and they become well known among the clergy.
Yeah.
The clergy all talk to each other, Catholics and non-Catholics combined, in a smaller community. You know what I mean? By that I mean like Kirkwood, like the Kirkwood church leaders know who
Yeah.
they are. And
Yeah.
get together.
You're serving the same role in the community. It would be. It's
there's
not
shared
best practice not
resources,
to.
and there's
you want to.
Professional courtesies. And
Like
shop
when I
talk.
worked at guitar stores, I never disliked the employees at other guitar stores
No.
because the
There's
really
a
shitty
kinship.
ones were all closed by then. And also, you want to be a part of an industry that has support across the area you're servicing. You don't want to be the only stop shop for whatever you're doing. It's just not a good feeling.
I mean, is there anything that's not Guitar Center or the neighborhood shop anymore?
Yeah, I mean, Music Around is pretty big. They're
Yeah, that's a
rocking
different
really hard.
model though. Like it's
Yeah, but it's popular.
yeah.
It's-
You can get some cheap gear there for sure.
Yeah, well, and it's just good for the population of dudes that are used to the old school kind of music store thing. It's kind of a good
Place where
daycare
you
for
can go in
them.
and play these shitty used guitars,
Or you just
or
see
the
stuff.
good used guitars.
You see stuff that's not all the same and brand
Yeah.
new. You know what I mean?
No, that's true. I always had more fun perusing Music Around than going to Guitar Center. Guitar Center's sort of in and out. It's like, yeah, you got the
No,
same
and
five
now
Ibanezes
it's like Best Buy. It's like I need it today. I saw online they have one.
I'm willing to pay 150% for strings right now
Yeah.
because
I just need them.
yeah,
I
got
just
a
need
gig
them today.
No, that's true. Music Around is definitely more of the pawn shop thrift store vibe.
Yeah.
Where like there could be a diamond
Yeah.
in the rough, and,
And
it's gonna
all
be
pawn
different
shops
shit every
have
time.
at least a corner of music
Something
stuff.
interesting in there, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's not like I'm not gonna buy that, but
Yeah.
it's still like it's cool or cool to see it.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, because I've been in and out of that market space so much that like it's cool to see stuff that you haven't seen in a long time. It's like, oh, I remember when they quit making those.
Yeah,
And they're still out there somewhere.
a
You know what I mean?
non-Class D bass amp. Where else are you gonna go?
Yeah, what the fuck? In this economy, we should go to Dylan's. He's probably gigging right now. Dylan has a room like 3 floors up in Utopia, just wall-to-wall basses and vintage bass amps. And
I mean,
I've been meaning to stop by there.
yeah, no, I would look at that.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Shout out to Crystal Lady and We Was Wolves, and he's probably in another band. Back to just briefly, what else was just decided locally in the Missouri elections?
So you had Corey Lewis.
Yeah.
You had Ray Hartman is running for Congress against Ann Wagner, and God, I'd love to see Ray Hartman as a congressman. It's never going to happen. But
Yeah.
it would be it'd be funny. He wouldn't be the worst congressperson, certainly from Missouri. So Wesley's going to win. Ann's going to win Congress. Local houses, I don't follow this. I know who my people are. They were mostly uncontested. At the state level, you had some interesting things going on. In particular, the gal that was the Secretary of State candidate who was flamethrowering everything and then spouting both homophobic and racial invective for any of her people that she didn't like. I don't want to say her name wrong. Secretary of State candidacy. Yeah.
We're back.
Valentina Gomez.
Oh, fuck.
You know who I'm talking about because
God
she got
damn it.
national headlines. Right?
She's all over my Instagram. Bro, she is a problem. What did she win?
She won nothing. She got 7.4% of the vote.
Oh, she's going to be in debt for the rest of her life from the Instagram ads.
I believe.
There's no way she's not fucked on ad
Sixth
budget.
place in the Missouri Secretary of State's
Oh,
Republican
Valentina,
primary.
she is out of her mind.
She was fired from Purina for
That's a great job.
the original, I believe, ad that she did where she was blowing things up and calling people gay. And I don't think she used the word gay.
No, she did.
She definitely did from time to time, but then she devolved from that for sure into the F slur and other things that on just in media.
Yeah.
Like this is just her.
And with her accent, can she own that weapon that she was posing with all the time?
I mean,
I want to see the law that says that Valentina Gomez can own all the guns that she was pointing at things, because I didn't know.
I think that's one of the reasons she did as dismally in that election, because you're talking about outstate Missouri. If they hadn't seen her holding a flamethrower, they would not vote for Valentina Gomez. You know, it's not happening.
Especially with that accent. In this around here. Now, where was that?
Where was what? Missouri?
What was she running for?
She was running for Secretary of State, which is a real job, mind you. So Secretary of State is, I, as a corporate lawyer, deal with the Secretary of State's office of almost any state that I'm working with, because they handle all corporate registries. They handle, any entity stuff happens with them, any registration stuff. But the big thing that they care about, the Republicans care about, in particular, in capturing and keeping that role, is it monitors and is in charge of elections. So it's the way that the Secretary of State's office can rat fuck an election, and John Ashcroft is in process trying to do that with the abortion ballot
that's who the guy is
initiative. Now? Well, yes, and he lost. I think a fairly distant third place in the Republican primary for governor, and this is the child of the old school John Ashcroft. Was Secretary of State, is currently Secretary of State.
Why did Valentina want that job specifically?
To rat fuck the elections. That was her stated goal. And it's an actual job with real power and real authority in a number of ways. I mean, somebody incompetent in that role, which we may have in Denny Hoskins, who is apparently a MAGA right-wing Republican, but is inevitably going to win a statewide race in Missouri. But I don't know if this guy knows the first thing about how corporations works. This is what I do day to day. The mechanics of that is a real thing, and we have had a good state. John Ashcroft, Jay Ashcroft, at least I had confidence that he was a lawyer and he understood how this stuff works. Hoskins may be a lawyer. I don't know anything about him other than he is within the Freedom Caucus equivalent within the Missouri House and has made enemies of less right-wing Republicans or in that role. So that tells me everything I need to know about where his politics stand. But, maybe he's a competent guy. I hope so. Because if he's not, that's a real role. It fucks up elections. It can fuck up corporate registries. There's some real stuff that they do. And so, Mary Elizabeth Coleman, who I actually worked with for a minute, who also was in charge of, she sponsored the if a pregnant woman crosses state lines bill that we can keep her from leaving so she can't get an abortion type legislation. I didn't know her in that capacity, mind you. Again, lawyer. But fortunately, she was not long for an association with us and never worked at my firm. So that was, I was always cordial with her.
Good. I was going to ask that.
She didn't work for Lewis Rice. She was in an ancillary role to something Lewis Rice was doing.
But do these people really care that much about abortion?
I think she does. I think she's a true blue. Like, it's not.
So it's a
for
mix
her.
of
It's not
that.
about controlling women. Like, I think she's super Catholic, and at some level, I think it's
I've worked with tons of
deeply
people
held
who
belief.
were actually. My own grandfather was a single issue voter. He was a pro-life voter, which is weird because he wasn't devoutly Catholic, but he was certainly raised that way. And for some reason, that was the issue that he always kept coming back to. And I've met people my own age like that.
Well, think about it. If you're an ambitious person, and I'll just take white men in particular, because I am one, and
We can speak for them.
I can speak for.
I'm going to say this right now.
The white male experience.
We can speak for all white men locally.
If you're the type of person who's like, power is good,
And you
opportunity
want
is
us
good,
to speak for you. You don't want to speak for yourself.
and I have a path to power despite my demonstrated mediocrity. What's an easy fast track for me? There's a community of conservative people that have a lot of resources and positions to advance their careers. You get on that train, and then it just becomes toeing the party line. It's not. You don't have to have a deeply held belief in it, but I'm a white man. Am I ever going to need an abortion? Absolutely not. If someone close to me needs an abortion, I'll probably have the resources to make that happen for them quietly, and hopefully it won't be an issue. Do I care if other people are denied the abortion? Well, I do, but if I'm the type of person that's going to be in the Republican Party apparatus, probably not. And
Because it doesn't affect you personally,
Right.
and it's what the group you're serving is pushing, so why not?
well, and there's a well-demonstrated effect, at least anecdotally, of conservatives in particular who have a life change, and then it changes their point of view. Like, I hated trans people until my own child was trans. Like, now I see what they go through, and because it's someone I love and I care about, which is better than Elon Musk can say, because he had the same experience that came out of it swinging. But if you're someone who has a change of heart over that, it is the thing that shakes people of a conservative worldview on almost a cliched basis out of their lack of empathy for people in different circumstances when they find themselves in that circumstance. Now it's about something I care about. It affects me, so the law needs to change, or the law shouldn't change because it benefits me, and I understand that now.
Right.
And I think there are fundamentally two types of people, and one of them is the type of person that until that happens, they honestly don't have the insight to identify or empathize with people who aren't in their situation. And then there's people who do. And what you see in the world is a whole lot of people that don't have any empathy.
Yeah. Well, because they're so isolated from other people's
It
experiences.
enables that type of person
Yeah.
to be less empathetic to fewer people.
Yeah.
And because they only have one experience. The more experiences you get, you naturally start to be in a situation where you can identify with that because you've expanded your own experiential level, your horizons, what have you. And you're now in a position where I can say, I have been there. I understand what you're going through, and I can empathize with it. And if you don't have experiences that are outside of one loop, it is very easy to get sucked into that. But fundamentally, there are people in that loop who can say, I can still be an empathetic person, and so that's not causal, it's correlative, but it does have a causal-like effect if you have someone who is susceptible to that and they don't ever get out of the loop.
Yeah. Trump's press conference is where we started. Really, is there anything I missed in there?
I mean, there's so much. But it's been done by people who are better at that than we are going to.
Yeah, I'll drop a link. Somebody by now.
It's bad. I do wonder if he's going to make it. I wonder if a debate with Kamala will destroy him. And we'll see. I'm still skeptical.
So you think he's bluffing when he says he wants to do it?
He's been forced into doing it. I mean, he's been being called a coward on Truth Social for like a week for dodging that debate. And it was an orchestrated effect because I think his opponents, people that don't want to see him debate, want to see him or don't want to see him win, want to see him debate because they don't. I believe, I'm one of them, that he's not going to show well. To anyone that's not in his cult, it's going to be infuriating for the rest of us to watch. But it's not going to be impressive. It's not going to change any minds in his favor. The calculus has always been he either goes on stage and loses votes, and I think this is true, and I think this is a conclusion that they came through to, or he goes off stage or stays off stage and she wins more votes.
Right. That's the problem.
And which of those numbers is higher? Does he lose more than she wins if he shows up?
There are plenty of people that thinks he could beat her in a debate.
Those people, for lack of a better term and not to show lack of empathy, are stupid individuals.
They're also not looking at how the context of her has changed. If you're comparing her debates for primary, how many years ago was that?
It was in 2019.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So if you're comparing that to a Trump debate against Biden,
and she wasn't debating Trump either.
Also
she was debating
true.
with 6 people on
and
stage.
she didn't have the full force of Taylor Swift and the DNC behind her.
She's got Charlie XCX.
And now she's going to have the good drugs.
I think she has Olivia Rodrigo. I don't think Taylor has come out.
I thought she did.
That's like in the last day or two then, because that's huge news. If
Lucius, did Taylor Swift back?
Yeah, can we fact
Kamala?
check that one?
Did she what with Kamala?
Did Taylor Swift back Kamala? I saw a Swifties for Kamala thing, but that could have been just Swifties.
I think Swifties
Why
for
wouldn't
Kamala is
they?
definitely a thing, but I don't think
Taylor's in it. That's the nuclear option.
Olivia Rodrigo definitely has, and it was sort of news.
Why do people keep talking about Michelle Obama like she's ever said she would run?
Why did Joe Rogan even say anything about her on his comedy?
We talked about that. I got called out for watching Joe
It
Rogan.
looks like no.
Stop.
Well, I had to explain that I watched that special, mostly because I was waiting for the people on YouTube that I watch that make fun of stuff like that, and they hadn't done anything yet, and I was,
It was too new, and then you got exposed to the.
But it's just so dumb. I wouldn't have done it if I was him. I mean, you can't let people see that you're not that great at the thing you tell them you're great at all the time.
No, he's a classic case of an expert in everything.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was, I forget the commentator, but it was like, this is our thought leader.
It's just
Joe
like
fucking
doing
Rogan.
a release of that size with him is like putting Corey Feldman on the Grammys. Don't make Corey
it's just
Feldman
mean.
play at the Grammys.
It's just mean to Corey. Corey doesn't need that.
Don't
level.
do that to him.
Let him tour pops of the pops of the world.
You know what? That's where I've seen him.
That's where he belongs. It's a good venue.
Let
for
him open for Fred Durst even. I love that pairing.
Is that real?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
the clip that's going around.
Oh, that's
him on that tour with
That's great.
Limp Bizkit. Lucius?
Taylor has not come out and
Told you.
an endorsement.
Yeah,
But
so
there are Swifties that are moving. Yes.
Yeah,
the
that's
Swifties
just-
have long, I think.
the
been
Swifties have mobilized.
behind
Yeah, they're
Kamala.
mobilizing for sure.
But
But they're doing that independent of the center of the hive.
Yes.
The Republicans already did attack Taylor several times for nothing at this point.
Oh my God! What do you make of? She had to cancel all of her shows in Vienna.
Oh yeah, and that's tragic. I mean, I'm glad they caught the guy before anything happened.
Well, thank God, because I remember when the Ariana Grande concert got bombed over there, and
no, and it was going to be really bad. Like if they did what they said they were going to do.
they arrested 2 ISIS sympathizers who were plotting to attack 3 Taylor Swift concerts in Vienna. So she canceled
That's
her whole
crazy.
run this weekend. She would have been there last night, tonight, and tomorrow.
She's picking up in the UK, right?
Yeah. So that's a problem. That's a problem.
That's a problem.
I mean,
ISIS is not the good guy.
we're going to have a problem of a bunch of 95-pound white girls trying to join the Marine Corps. They're going to say, listen, I think Vienna needs some freedom. And they're like, ma'am, you're 4'11". How old are you? That can't go down.
Well,
That's-
fortunately, Taylor is safe, and so are her concert goers who were.
Well, because that's the thing, just a crowd of that size. Because I remember
Yeah.
when the Eagles of Death Metal thing happened around the same time as the Ariana thing. Ariana Hala. There's just, I mean, It's just not okay. And then the stabbings in the UK lately.
It's depressing. Like this stuff, it's hard to sort of realize objectively that these types of things have always been happening. We just hear about them more and on repeat than we ever have in the past.
That's worth you doing at home, is going online and finding things that happened at the same time in history. It's therapeutic for you to learn that certain things that you feel like was just about this one thing also involved other historically challenging things, right? One of my favorite books to teach is a book by Laurie Hulse Anderson called Chains, and it's about a girl who was a slave in New York during the American Revolution, which is challenging in a complex and nuanced way. Such is real life. You know what I mean? You have to worry about, well, she has to pick a side between the loyalists and the rebellion, but also she is kind of still going to be a slave either way. And so watching her having to navigate that, it's a great part of that book. I have 35 copies of it on my desk at work right now. If you need one, call me. And but that's exactly what you're saying, is that we forget that in history, where we know about one thing that was happening in the world, the whole world was still here.
Well, and we didn't even hear about, I mean, the stuff like a stabbing.
Yeah.
You know, when it was horrific.
Oh, God.
Enough.
Nobody heard about it.
Right. And you know, it's one of the statistics of crime, you know, they've been trending downwards for decades. You know, if you look at the long term, yes, there are spikes. Yes, there are localized pockets of really bad stuff. But overall, I mean, even in the last 4 years, it's one of the things, you know, one of the many lies of Trump is that the crime statistics are through the roof like nobody's ever seen before. I mean, what it is that they're lower than they've been. And basically everything he says is bad.
He doesn't even try to read that stuff.
No, he has no actual idea of what's going on. All he knows to do is.
You ever listen to Knowledge Fight?
No, the podcast.
Yeah, it's a podcast of these guys that just fact check and roast Alex Jones every chance they get, and so they will go. They'll pull segments from entire broadcasts of his.
I've probably seen TikToks of them. Stitching things that he's doing.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I've definitely seen stitching of Alex
the reason
Jones.
I got into it is because they had all the depositions from one of those lawsuits, because they were called as witnesses in one of those lawsuits because they had such a documented history of fact-checking that show, and InfoWars deleted everything that they were subpoenaed for. So they got access to the depositions of like all the crazy people that, you know, that work there. And
it's embarrassing. I've seen some of those.
But also you realize that Alex's process for InfoWars is still, he finds a couple headlines that he can punch up to make sound like what he wants, and then he doesn't even typically read the rest of the thing, and they omit anything that's not useful to him. And he'll do it on air. He'll try to just blow through some stuff just to generate some steam, and he'll realize an article he's talking about is not really about what he thought it was going to be about, and he has to kind of pivot mid-thought. They have thousands of moments like this, and it's
like Alex actually read the next word after the headline and realized that
I can't use this anymore. Forget I said anything.
It's like every Reddit
and
post.
That's kind of how Trump's thing has felt to me. Like lately, he'll just say, "I saw a poll where we're winning."
Yeah, I don't have to debate because I'm way ahead.
He'll say a poll from a place that I've never heard of. He said, "I got a new XPC poll. It's coming out of the XFL, and they're saying that we're way ahead."
Well, it is depressingly close, even after everything. I mean. It's a shame that it's a binary.
We thought that since the beginning. We thought he could never win the first time he looked like he could win, and then he won. We really didn't think he could win.
No.
We really thought it was absurd.
Election night was a shock.
My wife was a mess. I thought I almost had to execute her.
It was like I knew it was possible.
Humanely.
I was terrified of it happening because I knew it wasn't outside the realm of possibility, but I didn't actually believe.
I had no belief, and until days later when I was like, because again, I remember as a child the hanging Chad thing. I'm like, well, it's got to be so close that he's not actually going to win. This is because the Electoral College.
I saw Virginia go, and I turned it off. I turned it off.
So is that a real swinger?
That was like one of the first states that went. I was like, this is not. I'm turning it off. I went and watched a movie.
What'd you watch?
I don't even remember because I knew it was happening, and I was.
Did you watch The Phantom Menace?
No.
The Clone Wars?
No. Clone Wars is actually good. It's not the movie or the show?
No, the movie.
The Tarabowski.
The one where she says, "This is how democracy dies." Is the one I thought you were going to watch.
isn't that one of the prequels?
Yeah, that's one of the prequels.
But Clone
She's
Wars
in the
is like
Senate
the
where she
cartoon
says
that was
it.
between.
Yeah, well, the
Attack
second
of the
movie is called Attack of the Clones.
Attack of the Clones is episode 2.
Yeah.
And episode 3 is what? I don't even know. Yoda does some backflips. There's a cartoon between those two movies that was canon.
Right.
And by the same dude that did Samurai Jack.
right.
And it's actually legitimately
really
pretty
good.
Like I watched when my oldest was very young, when my wife forbade us from showing
Forebode.
him the prequels at all. It was like we could only watch the despecialized editions of episodes 4, 5, and 6, and that was all. One day she was out, and he was like 3, and I was like, we're gonna watch the prequels, and then it happened. She was like gone all day. We'd like marathon it, but I got to that one, and I watched the cartoons. He's playing on the floor, whatever, and I was into it, man. It was good.
No, the
I was like
cartoons are good.
psyched to go into episode 3.
The Clone Wars cartoons are way better than the prequels themselves.
Then you get back to George Lucas, and there's a robot going Roger Roger in space in the vacuum within 15 seconds of the opening credits. The end of the opening scroll, and it's just like, fuck you, George. This is fucking terrible. Like, well, why would you
What do you
this?
attribute that to?
I don't
I
know.
think the success of the original trilogy is largely his wife's.
She definitely had a role to play in the pacing and some of the judgment calls that made them not as bad as any of the others, or that he did. There was also nothing else then. It's easy to forget. Like the mystique of Star Wars. I don't remember.
That's the thing. Disney ruined that thing. It used to be so few and far between.
Yeah, yes. The rarity
saturation
of the
is
thing. I
hard.
agree with you.
It's
there.
hard.
But it was already saturated before Disney got their hands on it. But it wasn't just that Star Wars was rare. There was nothing like that. Like this was new, and it was awesome, and there was nothing as close to being awesome as it was. And so I can remember as like a 3-year-old watching the HBO bootlegged recording of the VHS on our $800 VHS machine that was this big, like over and over and over again on a 13-inch tube TV. And those are like my earliest memories. Like I don't remember not having seen that movie. Saw Empire in the theaters, and it was like mind blown. And saw Jedi in the theaters, and I was probably 8 years old when Jedi was in the theater, and it was like, this is the greatest day of my life. Like this, like, and it I didn't care that the Ewoks were kind of dopey. It was awesome. It was Jedi. It was great.
I love an Ewok.
Well, compared to the shit that he did later, the Ewoks are fine.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people complain about the Ewoks, and I get it now at some level, but it was still tastefully done, relatively speaking. There's no Jar Jar Binks, right?
Yeah. So what should we be on the lookout for as we come up? We're running out of time here. I'm running out of juice. I got a camera down. We are just dumping today. What should we be on the lookout for between now and the election?
Disinformation, lies. Fortunately, there is no Republican president, but look for state officials, in particular in Georgia and some other swing states that are on the line where Republicans have a heavy statewide presence, to effectively swing the election, to steal the election. The Georgian Board of Elections is already trying to do it. You're going to see that the efforts in Arizona. You're going to see efforts in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in potentially Pennsylvania for sure. Those are the things people need to be aware of and pay attention to.
Is there's a lot of red in Pennsylvania?
It's a swing state.
Yeah.
I mean, Trump is technically ahead in the polls in
just
Pennsylvania.
being
If he
from
wins
here-
Pennsylvania, it's over. Like that really is. It is the keystone to this election. As you know,
If Trump wins Pennsylvania,
it's
he wins.
technically possible for Kamala to win at that point, but she'd have to win like North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada in order to do it, and keep Minnesota, Wisconsin. She'll keep Minnesota, but win Wisconsin, Michigan. So she needs Wisconsin, Michigan. They both need Pennsylvania. If he loses Georgia, if he loses North Carolina, it's over for him. It's if he can't hold Georgia, which they're going to rat fuck, and I think they're worried that they're not going to hold it. But remember, Obama won North Carolina. He was like the first Democrat to do it in like forever. And he won Indiana too, which is crazy. He didn't win Missouri, but he came as close to it as anyone has in our lifetime since, Clinton, I think.
Yeah.
In the modern era of party politics. But the thing to look out for is disinformation. The Republican game is going to be lies. It's going to be talking. They won't have a platform. They won't talk about what they want to do because it's wildly unpopular, and they're mostly objectively terrible ideas. other than the moralistic legislation, which will, get into what people can do with their own bodies and in their own bedrooms, which we know how they're going to go on that. They just have no good ideas other than handing more money to rich people and deconstructing any semblance of government that is useful and helpful to the average person.
What about the alleged they want to abolish the Department of Education?
They do. You can see what's happening in Texas.
What does that look like?
The Houston School District lost since the end of last year for the coming year, or since not the end of last year, but since the beginning of last year to the coming year, in a district of 11,000 teachers, big district, 4,500 of those teachers that were teachers in that district last year are gone. 4,500 out of 11,000. So, percentage-wise, not half.
Like
but
a third.
Yeah, easily.
More than a third.
Easily. Between, like 40%. More than 40%.
Yeah.
40%, 4 out of 10.
All right.
Teachers gone, right? Like that you work with. You're a teacher. You've been a teacher. 4 out of the people in that 4 out of 10 of the people in that building gone before the end of the year. Come back. Maybe they replace them. Maybe they don't. But it's because the Texas government, which is heavily Republican and very authoritarian, implemented by fiat takeover of that school district, put in a new superintendent who everyone hated, and he hated everyone, and they're deconstructing the school district. That's their
They
whole
want to
game.
destabilize it, so they have all these vacancies.
They want to
so
push the kids out to charters.
Yeah.
They want to funnel government money to charters. Who owns the charters? I mean, that's
the institutions that these people own.
they're privatizing the apparatus of government because they are going to benefit economically from privatizing the apparatus of government. That is their gambit. That they want to get in. The Steve Bannon thing is to just blow up the government so that the oligarchy can step in and charge you twice as much as you would ever have paid in taxes, even in a socialist paradise. And that's why Tim Walz is such a threat to them, is because he is the example of a government that works. Yes, your taxes are going to be a little higher, but guess what? You're not going to be paying a private DMV that we have in Missouri.
So I don't understand some people that, you do this, so you probably have some perspective on this, but if you're paying what you pay in property taxes and then private school tuition,
it wasn't
top of that,
well thought out.
well,
in
it's just
case.
like, because culturally for me, if you're paying for your kids to go to private schools, because you live in the city where you're from, and so you're not paying the suburban property taxes that are inflated for education in the ways that they can be.
I'll just say it's an expression of privilege. It really is. In my situation is that we are fortunate to have the resources to be able to choose to send our children to private schools.
Well, I can't, it's such a mixed bag for me, but that, alternative, when you think about if they were your own children, you want to do whatever the absolute best thing is going to be for them.
That's
You're not thinking at all about if they have a place they want to go that wants to take them in and they have programs that are suitable to this person that you've been growing this whole time. It's like, you don't even think about, oh no, you should probably go to the public school.
Well, we
you
do think about it.
No, but
it is a tortured choice.
But you don't die on that hill of, oh, I really do believe in public schools. You think, oh my God, my kid has a place where they actually want to go.
I am not principled enough to sacrifice what I think is in the best interest of my child to do anything that really, just to do that out of principle, out of a performative expression of that principle. Because ultimately, I'm still paying the taxes. I vote for the taxes.
That's the thing. That's the thing that is different here. Your kids that go to private school, they're not getting you out of any of your taxes.
No.
Yeah, you're paying your full taxes just like your kids were going to those schools.
I absolutely. And my youngest two, they all went through elementary school in public, and my youngest two are still in public elementary school.
And that's where you figure out what they want and what they need.
Well, it was not a plan for us. It was more of a happenstance. And every school district has its issues, and there are some kids for whom this school district is not going to be the best fit. And that was clear that for us that was the case. But it is beyond that. I get that most people don't have the ability to just choose to, pay some of the highest local property taxes for a school district that I can think of in the area, and then
It's like
pay
top
extra.
5. Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's because they have no commercial base. It's a failure of government, honestly.
Well, they refuse to have gas stations for 30 years.
It's
They
the
finally have that
NIMBY,
BP
not in my
over there.
backyard, expressed in
It's
a...
crazy.
Which is why Kirkwood is doing so much better. It's because Kirkwood
Because they
didn't
got
have that.
Chick-fil-A and shit,
They
baby.
got a Walmart. They got a Sam's
Baby.
Club. They got a Target. They got
Yeah.
a Lowe's. They got everything, man. We don't
Yeah.
have any of that. Like we've got Old Orchard, which is great. And I love it. And
When
we
I
got
go to that
downtown
McDonald's, though, I feel like everyone looks at me like, "How did you know this McDonald's was here?" Like nobody else is
The
ever
secret
there.
McDonald's?
It's like a secret private McDonald's.
Everyone in the community knows where it is. It's always busy.
No, never. When I go there, it's never busy.
The Webster McDonald's?
The Old Orchard McDonald's.
Really?
I never get slammed going through there. I
in
never
the
wait.
drive-through? Well, you must be going late. Or I don't know.
I don't feel like they're
most
open
time
late.
It's I don't know. They're not a late night
Yeah.
McDonald's.
That's
You
what
got to
I
go to
mean.
Jack in the Box for that.
Yeah, yeah. Or you can just
The
go to
Marlboro
Quick Trip,
Jack in
just
the
get out
Box.
of the car. I am running out of juice. But we don't have
anything you want to close on?
Well, we don't have to wait this long for you to come back on the show.
No, I'm good. Coming back.
and-
It just seemed like an appropriate time of the election that like
No, it's just so much stuff that I learned so much today already.
we didn't even really get into it.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, this has been you've been here 2 hours.
Yeah, I know it goes by. I could do this 2 more hours. We can go to your
That's
house.
the thing. And so
outtakes.
episode 100 is really just the beginning. The last 20 episodes of the show have been a completely different show. And it's really built up in a way that also it's easier to host people here.
It is welcoming.
Yeah. It's thank you. It's that's all Lucius is doing. And which is why I've never put up a fight. Like, no, I used to do this at home, like Wayne's World. I want to go back to doing it at home. I'm like, please don't make me do this at home. If I got to do it imagine hosting guests. I've had so many guests, people I always wanted to have on the show in person that I never would have even invited to my house before because I have cats and and things like that. So the possibilities are endless. And you're actually one of my most requested guests.
Well, I'm happy.
The executive producers on the Patreon love you. So
we should do this a little later when I'm a few more beers deep. I didn't really get to show off the effects of hams yet.
not yet. No, we
I
are
mean,
an hour 45 in.
I'll relocate and keep going.
Yeah, but
if you want.
I do have to pee and plug this camera in. This isn't even probably the end of this show. Here's my problem: is if I make the 100th episode multiple parts, it ceases to be the 100th episode.
Exactly.
Unless if we could do a series.
You could have tendrils emerge from the 100th episode. And then
Well, that's the thing. We're going to clip the whole thing. I'm not going to be able to clip the whole thing right up front anyway because I only have a couple hours in my bank on Opus, and I'll need at least 3 for this so far. And I'm shooting something with Clay tomorrow. Clay hasn't been on the show in forever. It's so funny. Clay was on the show so much when I was doing it at my house because Clay is like, I don't have to clean up. Clay's coming over. Fuck him. He should clean up around here.
You should have Clay and I on the show at some point.
I really wanted him to come today, but
I would love to.
He's celebrating something. So.
Triple up with Clay.
Yeah,
I think that
but your kids are also getting to an age too where you don't have to be on 100% dad duty when you're not practicing law.
I mean, let's be clear. My wife does all the work. So
Yeah. But it also, when the younger they are, the more sensitive that is. How old is the youngest now?
6.
Jesus Christ! What year is it?
Okay, Robin Williams. You kind of look like him.
I know. I get that a lot. My hair's doing that right now. JacobV.com, Patreon.com/JacobV, noantics.bandcamp.com/merch. Blinded by Stereo has vinyl on Bandcamp. Do you have anything you want to plug? Girl Scout cookies or anything?
Vote.
Yeah, please vote. For the love of Alfred. Vote, and everything will be okay if you vote. Right?
I mean, I wish that were true. I hope it. I hope it is.
It's certainly
Alfred
going to
is
help.
doubting our reach.
It can only help.
You know how big this show is in Switzerland?
That won't help us at all.
That's fucking right. Fuck, we're fucked.
Doorstop-studio.
Doorstop-studio.square.site for all your studio needs. Praise God.
Hallelujah.
Christ is king. That's what the pothole guy said. The pothole guy went nuts.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, I
the
got
pothole guy on TikTok?
Yeah.
He went nuts? What happened?
He was mad about the Paris Olympics opening ceremony and he made a thing.
Oh, no. He's one of those?
I got it right here.
Oh,